Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's special episode of the World of Gaming, your number one podcast where we discuss everything that happens in the world of gaming. We talk about games, news, technology, and whatever is happening in the world of gaming. And today, we have the honor to have a first-time guest here. We have Steel Rain here. Welcome, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show here today.
Hello, Box. I feel like, again, like I told you behind the scenes, it's absolutely a pleasure to be on. The fact that you even asked me to be a part of it is a beautiful thing. And again, that's what makes this community amazing. And again, it's all about trying to reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer talks about, right? But at least that's what we say on Live a Split Screen. I am Steel Rain. I also host a show every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time with Live a Split Screen. And Box, again, greatly appreciate you for asking me to be on.
It's a pleasure to have you, seriously. And if that was a little bit too fast for everyone, where they can find you, it is super easy because all you have to do is click in the show notes. And you will find the links to everything, to your YouTube channel, to the Twitter, everything is down there. So we always introduce our first-time guests with a couple of quick-fire questions, and we get to that in a sec. But I need to also welcome my co-host, Wandering Dutch.
Yes,
how you doing, my man? You're muted, brother.
Oh, he's on mute. Somebody's got.
There we go. I'm good.
There we go.
I'm good. I'm breaking free of my Vampire Survivors addiction tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not turning it on because I'll not turn it off. So, but yeah, awesome. Otherwise, looking forward to getting the working week out the way so we can relax a bit. But awesome. Otherwise, looking forward to tonight.
Me too. Sorry, I was a little distracted by the chat because I also want to welcome those beautiful gamers that take the time out of their busy schedules and join us here live today to chat with us about gaming. And today, guys, we are going to do something special, something we have never done before. I'm really looking forward to that, but we will get to that in a second. I also want to shout out everyone who listens after the fact, either, of course, on YouTube or on the podcast services around the world. And guys, this week I checked the analytics on Anchor, and they tell you basically where do people listen and so on. And you know what is the other top 3 countries that listen to this show? I mean, the first 2 are probably an easy guess, and that's the US and place 2 is the UK. But the third one truly surprised us because 23% of our listeners on the podcast services actually come from South Africa.
Wow.
So, shout out to South Africa. Yeah. I was surprised by that. Shout out to, but of course, shout out to no matter where you come from. That's the beauty about gaming, and it unites gamers around the globe, and that's what we do here. So we're gonna have an awesome show here, guys. We will today talk about, of course, the big Phil Spencer interview. Phil is quite busy lately, and we got some cool and interesting statements about Xbox's future. We will talk about the Game Awards. We will talk about, of course, The Witcher 3 next-gen patch. We could fill the entire show with that alone. And I know, Dutch, you were hoping secretly that we would do that. But we have other topics to talk about as well. We will talk about Pentiment, Dead Island, Perfect Dark, and a lot more. So we will start with that in a second. But still, first-time guest. We always need to introduce the gamer who is on this show. So we want to know from you, where did gaming start for you? What was your first platform, first games you played?
Oh, wow. That's always on the easier side of things for me. So the first console system that I remember putting my hands on is going to be the Game Gear, the Sega Game Gear. And the game that I remember playing on there is going to be Sonic, whether it was Sonic 1 or Sonic and Knuckles was also on there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But it was definitely a lot of heavy Sonic. I think that's where a lot of my bias for Sonic comes from, for sure. Coming up in the early 90s, Sega was really on their stride. Sonic was kind of came across to me as a cooler character than Mario, some dude in overalls and going down. Like, that doesn't seem cool to me. But a blue hedgehog, that if you go look a hedgehog up, they look nothing like this. But a blue hedgehog,
not even close.
Not even close. That can run real fast and spin into a ball and has all these cool enemies, Dr. Eggman, and he has all these other vast story behind him that always kind of invigorated me as a child and kind of just led me down that path of really being interested in games from there. So it was like Game Gear, then led into the Sega Genesis, which I never personally owned, but led into that. And then from there, my biggest and most earliest memories of like heavily gaming went from those early consoles, because I never, as a child, we didn't really have much. So the last console that I really remember having that we bought before I got into PC gaming, which I got into PC gaming probably way earlier than I was supposed to. Again, I was born in 92. I started PC gaming about 2000. So, give you some perspective. I probably shouldn't have been playing Rainbow Six or, other Ark Command and Conquer and doing all these other things online, but I was. And but the last console I really remember having was the GameCube before I started on my PC train, and then it led into Xbox and the current console generation. So that's a little bit. I tried to streamline it because I can go in many different directions depending on where we go. So,
sweet.
Sega and Sonic have been the mainstays for me. So
that's awesome. So name us some of your favorite games of all time.
Okay. Favorite games of all time. That's a little bit easier too. Only because
that's the easiest part to get kicked out of the show early. So
okay, well that's fair. That's fair. No, I can't blame you for that. So I know a lot of people like to try to break it down by IP themselves. I could do exactly what your question is, games specifically. So I'm gonna do Halo 2.
Sweet, good choice.
I'm gonna do Gears 2.
Also very
nothing better than that story. Of course, Gears 1 was an excellent build up. But getting that feeling, there was no better feeling. Again, I know not everybody has played Gears 2, so I try to refrain from giving people spoilers. But if you don't know about Dom and his relationship with his wife and Marcus, and people make that seem like it's just a dude bro game, and it's so much deeper.
It's so much deeper. So much even 3 hits so hard.
Oh, yeah. 3 is the perfect icing on top. If they would have ended the series right there, I think they would have been perfect. I love 4 and 5 also. I love the Gears franchise overall. None of the games are bad to me, other than Judgment, because I was like, oh, okay. But that wasn't
it wasn't even bad. It wasn't really bad. It just wasn't on par like with the OG trilogy.
Right. And the story was good also. I like the story from Judgment. It's just the multiplayer, was more. I think that's what really was negative against it, because they tried to innovate on it, like running off of roofs and just add other elements to it, but people didn't pick it up, and the hardcore didn't like it. So that's why they continue with 4 or 5. But I thought all the games were good. But the last game, so Halo 2, Gears 2, the last game that I'm going to probably give it to is going to be Devil May Cry 3.
Ooh, that's a great pick. We don't hear that too often when people talk about their favorite game. So I love the choices. Man, you're allowed to stay, and we're going to have some awesome gaming discussions. But I briefly need to shout out a couple of people supporting the show here really early. The first super chat of the day comes in from Thanaros. He says, just dropping support, and I can't thank you enough, man. That's awesome that you're here and support. Super appreciated. And Hertog Win sends in €2 and says Sonic Frontiers should have been nominated for GOTY.
It's gonna be interesting.
I haven't played Sonic yet, so I can't talk about that, but we will talk for sure about the Game of the Year nominations, because there's a lot to talk about. So we will get to that in a little later in the show, Vin. But Sonic, I see a lot of people really enjoyed it. But before we talk about all of that, we need to talk about the games of the week. All right, there we go. The games of the week. That's the part of the show where we talk with not just our guest and of course the amazing co-host, but also with the community about the games that we played over the last week. So guys, drop it in chat. We want to hear from you. What have you been playing? Steel, take it away.
What have I been playing this week? A lot this week has been Warzone for me. Between Call of Duty has definitely at least invigorated itself to me. I kind of fell off of that bandwagon. Let's be honest, since about Black Ops 2, I've kind of been on and off of it, and I hadn't really invested in Call of Duty in the last couple of years. But Warzone has definitely been heavy for me, the third-person mode that they have in there. Again, that's something they had in the original Modern Warfare 2, and them bringing it back around this time. The amount of effort that they put into it, because they didn't have to, right? They could have left it a first-person game. Everybody loves it that way. There's a bunch of people complaining about the third-person mode because people don't like different perspectives, right? You're used to Call of Duty being one way, and now you're presented something that's new. Again, Modern Warfare 2 came out how long ago? And then you're trying to introduce it to a new crowd. But other than that, Gotham Knights and Sonic Frontiers are on my rotation. So between those three has really been my gaming kind of circle at the moment.
Sweet. So any issues with Warzone 2 now online? I've seen people saying different things about that.
Everybody is, as always, everybody's always going to have a different experience for whatever reason, whether they're lying or not. I will speak on my experience. So I am playing on PC through the Battle.net app, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But I haven't had very many issues. Now, there is an issue currently where I can't access my friends list for whatever reason through Modern Warfare. I don't know what that's about. It didn't happen until after the patch was put out for Warzone. So there's something going on with that. I know they're addressing that currently. And other than that, there has been some slight connection issues. I don't know if it's lag or there's just probably the servers are getting slammed. Again, we're in 2022 and you're releasing Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2 has a lot of hype. It's free to play. Where are we at? Like, I don't know. It opens up a lot of other questions that kind of makes you look at things a little bit differently. But I'm enjoying it, man. If I think this Warzone is better than the original, there are some things that I don't like about it. Like, for an example, the Gulag. I like the classic 1v1. Hey, if you're better than me, you're going to beat me in the Gulag. It is what it is. One of us is going to make it out. Now, it's a 2v2 thing. I've had a pretty good record so far in the Gulag 2v2. Other people, again, we have to depend on a random. That could be very iffy sometimes. But they do have a mechanic now to where if you guys work together, you and the enemy team, take out this jailer that's in the middle, the bot or whatever, everybody gets out of the Gulag. So, and with proximity chat being now in the game, that adds a whole nother element. I thought it was just dope being in multiplayer, but hearing it in Warzone and you guys like you talking smack to the other team, like, hey, where you at? And he's like, oh, I'm over here. And y'all just like playing this mind games with each other. It's added this classic element of what I personally have felt we've missed since party chats have become a thing into the gaming ecosystem. Now, it's only one negative. I do appreciate parties because I would rather have that option, right? You're not trying to hear everybody bicker all the time, but I've loved it thus far, man. That's me though.
That's cool. That's really cool. Sweet. Dutch, we get to you in a second. Let us check briefly what the chat is playing. Richard Freudel is playing Hollow Knight after a Platinum God of War. Fantastic game. I absolutely love it. It's one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. It's brutally difficult, but it is super fair, and that's always good. Valentone is, of course, playing Vampire Survivor, Pentiment, and Persona. Thanaros, Sonic Frontiers. Hertog Win likes to hear that, I bet.
Nice.
I bet. What else? Siki is playing Overwatch, Pentiment, and he's loving it. That's awesome to hear. What else are people playing? That's Hertog Win, of course, plays Sonic Frontiers and Spider-Man and Super Mario Strikers. Cyclone is playing God of War Ragnarok. And Besat is playing Entropy Center. I have not even heard of that game. Interesting. Dutch, what kept you busy this week?
Yeah, for me, 2 games. God of War Ragnarok, of course. naturally, I've already in this space of 4 days, but not quite. Technically 3 days. I've put 21 hours into it, so I'm a good chunk of change into it now. And then obviously because I'm streaming the entire playthrough, I can't play without it. Unfortunately. I made that choice, so I have to stick by it. Streaming the entire thing.
That's what you do when you start to stream it. You gotta finish it. That's the rules.
Yeah. But obviously with podcasts and things in between, I needed something just like a little game to play, and everyone's been raving about Vampire Survivors, so naturally I jumped onto that. And boy, that game has a lot of achievements. A lot of achievements.
Dear it does.
God.
All right.
But really strangely addictive. And you literally do nothing. You do nothing. You just sit there twiddling a thumb, and then you upgrade. You made sure you get the right upgrades, get as many of the weapons active as you can, upgrade all the weapons that you can. My main aim at the moment on that game is to try and eventually kill death, and get past that.
100%. But I can't just let you slide past God of War. That's what happened. Are you having a fun time with it? Is it the greatest game that you've ever played? Is it your game of the year?
Yeah, it's on track so far to be my game of the year. Absolutely.
Nice.
Everything that the first game did well, this does better.
Okay.
Primarily, the best thing about the game so far is that the story pacing is better than the first one.
I agree. I agree.
Okay.
There was I mentioned yesterday as well that in the first one, I loved the story, but there was a section in the middle specifically where it just dragged. And it felt like nothing was happening and you weren't really going anywhere. But this one, like I say, 21 hours into it, and it's always something going on. The story's constantly going, and it's just really, it's refreshing. It's really well paced. So yeah, loving it.
Biggest reason I ask is because a lot of people are very divisive on this game, right? It's just like many games where you're going to have people that feel one way about it, where a lot of people finding that it's still kind of boring or it's lackluster in some areas.
Yeah.
And then but as you mentioned, as you find it picks up more than the first game, which is what I would want. As someone who's only put about 4 hours of the first God of War and put it down because it didn't grab me enough to continue personally. And I'm also multiplayer focused, so that's always going to be a bane of my existence. But it's always interesting to get that perspective because I am still considering, since I do have God of War on PC, maybe I just need to slap Master Chief in the place of Kratos, and maybe that'll help me power it through. I don't know. I keep teasing that and being funny and wanting to stream it. But it's just one of those things where when you get these divisive games and people that aren't necessarily streamlined, but it's rated super high, it's kind of like, is this truly a game that is rated properly, or because of the, let's say, the echelon that it's at, the quality of the game, it kind of makes up for some of the areas where it's lacking in.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets that pass.
Yeah. On this one, I would say, and I've got the same opinion for every game that's ever been released. I don't believe there is such thing as a 10 out of 10 game.
Right.
There is no such thing as a 10 out of 10 game. So every game has some flaw.
Mass Effect 2 is kind of close. I ain't gonna lie.
That depends on what you define a 10, you know?
Yeah, someone might say, okay, to me this feels like the perfect game, but if everyone were to truly critique their game, there's going to be something about it that you dislike.
Right.
Yeah.
And naturally that would, of course, if you were going to rate it, detract from the overall scoring. However, it doesn't mean that the game's any less of a masterpiece. And I said the same about the first one. Like the first one, I rated a 9.5 out of 10. I loved 2018's God of War. But because of that pacing issue in the middle, that did detract from it. But this one, like I say, the pacing so far has really picked up. I think a couple of people in the community specifically, I think, were just having issues with the fact that there is multiple characters in this one.
Right.
And it's not all just Kratos.
Right.
So, but to be honest, there's the flip side in that it brings a whole new dynamic to it. You actually get to try something different,
right?
And see a different avenue of the story and how that's going, and it's not all just one way. So, it is certainly a different aspect, and I think that is a positive change to God of War. But again, people are that set, as they are with every franchise.
Right.
It has to just be the main character. You can't do anything else. You have to try and do something new.
It's like,
Surely
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
No, but I agree with your assessment on Ragnarok. I agree. I'm not as far in as you are. I'm like, think like 10, 11, maybe 12 hours in, something like that. I had to put the game on hold. I'll get to that in a second, but I agree. The story pacing is significantly better than in the first one. I also, maybe it's just my memory, but I feel like the interaction in between Kratos and his son is much more dynamic and not as forced as it was in the first one. Like you said, everything else is also slightly improved. The combat system feels more fluent.
Good. Yeah,
There's
awesome.
I like the little changes they did to the upgrade system. So yeah, I agree that it is a fantastic game.
Dope.
Yeah, I was going to say that in this one as well, there is far more equipment than the first one.
Yeah.
So in the first one, you get some special armor in the Mist Realm, and you have to upgrade that and get that maxed out and things like that. And that is like the best armor in the game, essentially, once you've maxed that Mist armor out. But that's kind of as far as it goes. I think there's maybe about 10 bits of armor that you can get in 2018. And this one, I've already got like 20 bits of different armor sets and like side quests.
Yeah, you can actually, you can actually really choose or actually swap in between. If you have a certain boss where you want to prefer one or thing.
Nice.
I absolutely agree. And I want to shout out Master Clowns in chat. Because he sends in a super chat for being a channel member for 17 months, which is absolutely awesome. He says God of War Ragnarok Game of the Year. And right after that, he upgraded to the tier 2 channel membership.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for the support. Super appreciated. The tier 2 supporters, they get early access to all the videos, except, of course, the reviews, because I'm legally not allowed to do that. So, but everything else, you will get now early access as soon as it's done. You will have access to that. Thank you so much for the support. That's anything else besides Vampire Survivors or God of War?
Not so far, but I am this is the problem as well. I'm determined to finish God of War first before I jump into anything else, because I've said
makes sense.
I platinumed the 18. I'm going to platinum. I'm going to platinum God of War. As soon as that's done, then I'm going to jump. I've got Somerville that I've already got downloaded. I can't wait to jump into. That'll be patched, and some of the screen tearing will be fixed by that point. I've got to finish Return to Monkey Island, which I'm looking forward to do. Of course, we've got Evil West coming up, which I'm looking forward to playing. There's a lot that's in the list ready to play as soon as God of War's finished.
Yeah.
And of course, jumping into Warzone, which I haven't done yet.
I get that. You know, I'm usually a play one game at a time type of gamer. So I don't play. I know Pong is like playing quadruple billion games in parallel, but I'm like, I start a game, I finish it, I move on to the next. That's how I play my games usually. And this time I had to buy, or I bought like a couple of weeks ago, Gotham Knights. I wasn't able to finish it before God of War Ragnarok came out, and FOMO hit me really hard. So I started God of War, and I wanted to give Gotham Knights the proper attention, so I put it on hold. Now, I wasn't able to finish God of War because I got a review code, and I want to play that game, and of course do a proper video review for it. But I'm not complaining here, guys, but of course I had to put God of War now on hold, and now I have like 2 games on hold. It is just a vicious circle, a very vicious circle.
First
world problems, indeed. But yeah, besides that, of course, I just can't. There's no day where I don't do at least one match in Age of Empires 4. So I did that. Season 3 is like literally the best season so far. Fantastic. The new maps are amazing. Like the sieves are fantastic. They bring like so many unique units and everything. So it's really good. And I was like this close to finally hit my goal of getting in the platinum tier.
Hey,
so I would have only needed one winning match, and then I lost like 3 or 4 in a row. And now and you know, you drop like down way more than you level up when you win a match. So after losing like 3 or 4 matches in a row, I'm this close to hit actually goal 2 now. I'm in goal 3 tier at the moment. So god damn it! But I'm gonna make it one day into platinum tier. I promise you that.
Yeah.
I won't stop playing the game before I hit the platinum tier. But I know people are getting sick of me praising the game, and that's why I think it's a good time to move on to the news of the week. All right, a lot of stuff happened this week. Phil Spencer had a big interview, talked about a lot of stuff. The Game Awards nominees are out. Witcher 3, the next gen patch is coming, guys. Pentiment released and surprised everyone. Dead Island 2, first delay of 2023. Perfect Dark news. A lot more to discuss. But first, I want to do something that we have never done on this show before. And I need to remove the overlay for that and change the view. I want to look at this here. Guys, the Xbox Black Friday sale started today. And yes, you can get the Xbox Series S now, $50 off. Also in Germany, 40 euros off. So we are now talking of about $250 US. In the US, we talk about 260 euros here in Europe. Dutch, what is it in the UK? You're muted, brother.
Ooh. Again, I do this when I'm vaping, just so everyone doesn't hear.
Yeah.
I'll just check Xbox.co.uk.
All right. While you check, I want to do the following with you guys, and I want to include everyone here in chat and encourage you guys to drop your thoughts. We go through some of the highlights of this sale and talk about whether it's worth or not getting it. I want to spend like 10-15 minutes on that because I feel like this time there are actually quite some good sales and deals in there. So yeah, let's have a look here. What's in the Xbox Black Friday sale? We have Gotham Knights. Yeah, at $42 US. I'm now in the US store because I feel like this is the universal store where we can see. So, of course, we usually have to transfer that to euros, but they have the same games on sale. So 40% off of Gotham Knights, guys. Definitely time to get the game, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, I bought the game for full price. I thought it was worth that, but I also got it on PC. If you're someone who's on console and you're waiting for maybe a patch or, again, feel how you must about 30 FPS, if that's going to be your biggest turnoff, I'd say continue to wait. But I think the game's well worth it. Especially
absolutely. I agree here. By the way, is there a chance in Chrome or Microsoft Edge where you can make like your cursor a laser pointer or something that's better visible? I don't think so. I don't think so. Should have checked that before the show. All right. Overwatch 2, the Watch Point pack is on sale. Like 40% off. Deathloop is reduced, but I would suggest. Yeah, Game Pass. I would suggest Game Pass for that. Destiny 2, the Witch Queen, is down to $20. I think I might get that actually. I haven't played the Witch Queen yet. I've played every expansion for Destiny except this one because it came out at a bad time. So I might get that. You think anyone played that?
Yeah, I've played the Witch Queen. I've pretty much played all the DLC for Destiny up to this point, except the most recent.
Sweet.
And the Witch Queen was dope. I personally wouldn't invest because I just have this thing with Bungie right now, with them taking away content, adding content, and then this whole $100 almost every year thing is like, guys, what are we doing? But I don't know. If you enjoy Destiny, I do think the Witch Queen is good. For $20, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Sweet. I think that's something for me. Dying Light 2, guys. Awesome.
Get it. Buy it,
absolutely.
Please. $30.
I think at the moment I would actually say this or A Blake's Tale are my game of the years. I can't vote for God of War Ragnarok yet because I haven't finished it, but so far it's definitely up there. I absolutely love it. Dutch, would you recommend it?
Dying Light?
Dying Light 2.
I have not played Dying Light 2 yet.
Get it, dude. Trust me, get the game. You will love it. It's right up your alley. $30. It's a steal for that. Definitely.
Get the DLC and get the expansion because at that price point, you're getting at least 100 hours of content.
Absolutely, and good content. Yeah, that's the point. It's good content. And we have Call of Duty Cold War at $20. I played the campaign. Okay. It wasn't bad actually. So I think for $20 you get like a good popcorn movie. Yeah, like 5-6 hours of good shooting.
Could be a good time.
Saints Row, the premium or platinum edition here has dropped down from $100 to $66. I haven't played Saints Row yet. So anyone?
I still think that's a little bit high for me personally.
Same. I would get it at like 20 or 30. I don't know whether it's the non-platinum version is in sale. So let's see. Dutch, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, I've got Red Dead 2. I've already got that. I just haven't played it. It's the problem I've got with Red Dead 2 is I've played maybe 5 hours into it, and I've already. The issue I've got is when I know a game is like 100+ hours long, I'm already like dreading starting the game before I even get anywhere. And I'm like, I know even if I play 10 hours today, like I am still not even a 10th of the way through the game. Like
that's why I would rather not know. Don't tell me how long it's going to take to beat everything. Just tell me 40 hours and I find out it's triple that.
I'm like,
but it is a landmark game, so you kind of miss out if you haven't played it.
Absolutely, pick it up for 20.
Good looking game. Good looking.
Definitely. Yeah. Diablo 3, the Eternal Collection for $20. I put like 300 hours or so into Diablo 3, so obviously I think it's a good game, but I'm not sure if I would burn my Diablo batteries on 3 now when 4 is coming out in a couple of months. So maybe the Quarry. I think I might get that. I've heard nothing but good things, and it's down to $35 now.
Half off, man. I mean, you can't beat that for sure. Then what's crazy to me is right to the left, Sekiro is still $60. And they knocked it down to 30. That is so crazy to me. That game it's been rocking and rolling, man. It's been rocking and rolling.
Yeah. One of the biggest surprises of this year, for me at least, was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and it's down to 35. It's really good.
I'm thinking about that one. I'm also thinking about picking up the Quarry for 32. That's because with games like that, I don't think they're worth $60-$70. Like I'm sorry, but like it's literally an interactive TV show. Like I appreciate what's went into it, but it's not $70. And like the original games weren't priced that anyway. Like the first couple from the Dark Pictures were like 30, 40.
Yeah.
And then this one comes out and it's like almost $70. I'm like, no, I'll wait. Wait for
indeed. Indeed, I'm right there with you. That's why I didn't buy it yet. But I think, like, especially over the Christmas break or so, like that interactive movie when you're just lying on the couch and don't want to get stressed out too much. I think I might get that for 35. Yeah, and Tiny Tina, like I said, I recommend it. Everyone who likes Borderlands will like this game.
100%.
It's good. Resident Evil 2.
Is the next level edition just the next gen version then, or do you get extras with it?
No, you get extras. It's like with the add-on or post
Dragon Lord pack.
Yes, exactly. So
okay, awesome.
the next gen patch is included when you buy it.
Actually,
Cyberpunk.
saying that the Chaotic Great Edition is only £5 more, more, and you get the season pass with it.
Nice.
There you go.
Get that.
Get that. Get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cyberpunk $30. I'm surprised. I would have thought that they dropped that a little lower, honestly.
The problem, Boxy, it was 10, and then it had a resurgence, and it went back up.
Yep.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Still worth it though, if you haven't played it. It never ran better than it does now. So absolutely recommendation, no doubt. Destroy All Humans 2 is on sale. Guys, have you played that?
I played Destroy All Humans back in the day, and I haven't played 2 yet. Have not played
highly recommended. Highly recommended. I bought that day one and was totally worth it. So now it's at $32. Definitely worth it. Lego, the Star Wars Skywalker saga. If you enjoy if you enjoy the Lego games, this one is really good. Played it with my kids. It's really good. Again, and I want to apologize to the chat. I had to remove the porn. No porn here today.
It's another one. It's another one. The Skywalker collection. That it's obviously it's an awesome game, but again, super long.
It's a really long game.
You're gonna get all the collectibles, everything. There's so much in that game, but again, it's one of those you can literally pop in, turn your brain off, and just
true. So then we have Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers as a package,
that's worth it.
It's a package.
That's worth it.
Yeah, for $27, that's definitely worth it. Psychonauts 2, Halo Infinite are also on sale, but hey, guys, Game Pass. That's Game Pass. Let's look
one
here.
Indie game on there actually that I'm gonna pick up, and it's Ollie Ollie World, which I still haven't jumped on yet, and that's reduced down to 15.
Nice.
So 18 US dollars. Yes, indeed. Yeah, good one. Like that's a 2D side-scrolling skateboard game, right?
Yes, yeah. I've heard really positive things about it as well, and it's like again when it was kind of sitting on there at 35, almost 40. I was like, I'll wait. I'm playing through a lot of things right now, but 15, I can't complain for 15. I'm pick it up and jump on it.
Yeah. A Way Out. Ballantone shouted that out in the chat. Is a steal, and he's right. It's a really good game, and it's only $6. So definitely worth it. I mean, Outer Worlds is on here too, but again, it's in Game Pass. But
so
definitely worth. Is A Way Out in Game Pass?
Yeah, it's EA.
Is it? Oh wow.
EA, right? You're right.
That's true. Wow.
It's EA. Yeah. So then we have Anthem for $6.
I think that's worth it. That's at least a 40-hour. That's a 40-hour game at least. You can have a good time with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else do we have here? Oh, Ashen. They bring out their new game. What's it called? I'm blanking on the name. They showed that during the Xbox showcase.
I think I know what game we're talking. I don't know the name of it.
I'm blanking on the name. If the chat would let us know. But Ashen was fun. Ashen was a real fun game, actually.
That Assassin's Creed Antiquity Pack. You get Origins and Valhalla.
And Valhalla.
I mean, not Valhalla, but
Odyssey. Yeah.
Not a bad deal, man. That's all
for $25. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Sweet. So basically, all Assassin's Creed games are on there. Like Origins is only 12.
Oh, you've got the Mythology pack with Valhalla, Odyssey, and Origins for 47.
That's
there you
go.
Steal.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
That's a steal.
Flintlock. Thank you, guys. Yes.
That game's looking bad.
Flintlock.
That game is looking awesome.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And their first game was Ashen. So yeah. Shout out to them. Let's skip over the Assassin's Creed games here. Then we have like Batman. So of course on there, Arkham Knight is for $3, guys. $3. If you haven't, even if you don't play it, just add it to your library for that price. Yeah. And of course the Return to Arkham collection. where you get like Arkham Asylum and Arkham City is at $5. So definitely worth it. Then we have a lot of Battlefield games in there. 2042 is also in there. The new season just started, and it's $28. Anyone play that? I haven't played it, so I can't really talk.
I haven't played it recently.
Okay,
not recently, but it's really good.
Yeah, last time I played it was in probably about towards the beginning of season 2, maybe in the middle of it. And it was a good time. They've changed a lot of the things that I wanted, especially with how the guns feel. The one thing still that's missing from the Battlefield experience is that class system, which they are bringing in with season 3. It's just that's what made Battlefield unique. That's what made Battlefield feel like a purpose. Everybody had a role to fulfill. Not everybody's just running around doing whatever they want. You're removing the point of Battlefield, and it's trying to become Call of Duty, right? Battlefield should be Battlefield, and I think that's what they missed the mark on, which is why I think it's coming to Game Pass also. So, I mean, $28 at this point, I would say, guys, hold off until the game to Game Pass if you have it on the Xbox ecosystem, for sure.
A little scroll down the list there, and you've got Blue Dragon. If you have not played Blue Dragon before, you need to play Blue Dragon.
You're muted, Box.
One of the best RPGs. You're muted, Boxy.
Yeah, there you go. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Blue Dragon, definitely worth it. And Bulletstorm is also on there for $6. Definitely worth it. We have Call of Duty Vanguard. The base standard edition, $30. Maybe for the campaign.
People like the story, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So
let's. Still too steep for me for the Vanguard campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Can see it. So what else do we have? I'm skipping over now because we also need to watch the time. But we are only at sea. Yeah, we have a lot more to cover. So Control, $9. The sequel was announced this week. We have the Crisis Remastered Trilogy for $30. I might consider that.
Definitely, people are making some good points. There's a lot of potential Game Pass games that could be coming in the future, man. And just seeing all the value that's here, the type of games that are there. A lot of these games also, I mean, I know everybody wants the brightest and newest thing, but a lot of these games have truly held their value. And I think that's what's really unique about the games within the last decade is that, especially with like Xbox giving you the upgrades and everything with your new system, whether that be up in the
FPS boost, auto HDR,
they're breathing new life into these games. So much potential in a lot of these titles.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dead Island 1 is on there for $4. Yeah, so if you want to prepare yourself for the upcoming sequel that just got delayed, definitely a lot of Destiny stuff. Is on there, of course. Then we have Deus Ex.
On the next page, there is Far Cry 3 Classic Edition for $2.
Wow.
Far Cry 3. Oh, all right. We will get to that in a second. Briefly, Diablo 2, the Resurrected, for $20. Definitely worth it. Then we have Dishonored. Doom is on there. But that's all in Game Pass. So Dying Light, we already talked about that. Elex 2 is on sale.
That's an interesting game. I haven't had a chance to play it, but Pong did play the first game and he was telling me about it. And that kind of made me interested in the second game. The thing about Elex though, the game looks so vast and there's so much content to be had there. I don't know if I want to get lost in that world and commit myself to that. Because from what I've seen from the game, it's at least a 100-hour game.
It is. And it is not like, your casual RPG 100-hour open world game. It's more like have you ever played like the old Gothics?
Yeah, I did play the old Gothics.
Yeah. So it's more in that campaign. So it in this day and age, you kind of really have to love those type of games in order to like it. But if you do, it's great. So yeah, Fallout, Far Cry. Now that we come to Far Cry.
$2.99 for the classic edition of Far Cry 3, which is one of the best ever. And Far Cry 6 is only £20.
definitely worth it. I really enjoyed Far Cry 6. I thought the story was good. The open world sandbox let you do a lot of crazy stuff. So definitely worth $20.
But we've got
What
the
else?
anthology bundle next to it as well, which has
Yeah,
all four
yeah,
of the
yeah.
newest major titles for 44.
The steal.
Yeah,
That's a
pretty
steal.
solid.
Yeah. So Forza Horizon, of course, that's all in Game Pass as well as Gears. So let's skip over that. We have Greedfall here for $10, 100% worth getting. Definitely Halo, all in Game Pass. Let's skip over the Game Pass games. Hitman is also, I think, in Game Pass. Immortals Phoenix Rising
Heard it was
for $15.
It's the gold edition for $25.
Yeah.
Wow. Heard there's a lot of content. It's another 100-hour game right there.
Well, I don't know if you've. I played through it. I would say it's more like a 30, 40-hour
really?
game.
Okay.
Yeah. But in my personal opinion, it was better than Breath of the Wild. Honestly, I enjoyed that
Really?
more. Yeah. It's really good. It's really good, and you can shit on Ubisoft all day long. But and if you want to have a Ubisoft game that does something different, this is the one to get. Definitely. Kingdom Come Deliverance for $7. That's cool. Then we have a lot of Lego games in there. Definitely worth checking out, especially if you have kids. Life is Strange True Colors is reduced.
Yeah, into that.
Yeah.
Lost Judgment. A lot of good games there.
A lot of good stuff there. Guardians of the Galaxy, $20. Definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But it's in Game Pass, so. What else do we have? We have Metal Hellsinger, $30.
Yeah, heard that game's really good too. A lot of
Yeah,
people like that.
It is. So then we go further a little bit. We have a lot of smaller games. I'm just jumping over them now. If
There's a lot of variety. A lot of
variety, definitely. If anything jumps at you, just shout it out. So we have Prey here for $7.
$10 for the wholesome big boy edition.
Sweet. Then we have Rainbow Six Extraction, $16. I think that game died the day it
came
came out.
It did. Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. All the Resident Evils are in there. Definitely worth checking out. Resident Evil Village for $30.
Yeah. And it has that third person mode in it now too.
Oh yeah. They have already the first DLC out. I have yet to play that. Then we have a lot of Sims stuff, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Sims
Skyrim is
there you
in
go.
there.
Scarlet Nexus. I was going to say Scarlet Nexus as well is on there for $13.74. And that's the
cool.
edition.
Good game.
Cool. Good game. Good stuff. Good shout. So what else do we have? We have this couple of Star Wars games. Jedi Fallen Order for $6, guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not played that game for $6, come on. What you waiting for? Sunset Overdrive, $10. That's also cool.
Nice.
I enjoyed Sunset. I had a blast. We already talked about the Quarry, and the last Ori crew is also already reduced. I think that game came out like a couple of weeks ago. So good stuff. The Witcher, guys. There we go. There we go. Get it? December 14th. We might as well just talk about that right now.
Yeah,
real quick.
Let's get it going.
$10 and you get the free upgrade, guys.
Come on.
$10. And
$10 for the complete edition of the best game ever made, including all add-ons. $10, and on December 14th we will get the next gen patch, including ray tracing at high frame rates, and they will put in new content that is based on the Netflix series. So there is literally no reason not to get it, because it's fan freaking tastic. I have 4.5 entire playthroughs, including all DLC, and I'm gonna do another full playthrough once that patch drops. This is gonna be my Christmas games. Are you guys gonna play it again?
For me, this is going to be probably my first time really giving The Witcher 3 a full 100% effort. The last time that I jumped in The Witcher, again, I think it's more so just because of my multiplayer conundrum, but the last time I jumped into it, I got only about 3 hours in, and then I put the game and I haven't been back in. But I have said multiple times on occasions, every time that I hear about this update coming, that I do want to get it on Xbox and give it a full playthrough and see how I feel about it, man. Because I've had so many people, including yourself, Box, that say that how great this game is, how great the DLC is, and you know, when you have other games, you know, you have that conversation of what's DLC or what should be considered DLC, and you have games that kind of set themselves apart, especially CD Projekt Red, right? Because you see it with Cyberpunk 2. Obviously, they know how to make a game. Although it might not always start the greatest performance.
I mean, yeah, indeed. The Witcher also had its bugs when it came out.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah,
but
exactly.
but which open world game doesn't? Yeah, so
yeah.
Do me one favor. If you start playing the game, give it a chance until you finish the main mission called the Red Baron. It's like, is it the first or second main mission after the tutorial section? So it's like, and if you're not hooked after that mission, it's literally one of the best quests ever, right, Dutch? I think you would agree. So give this a chance, and if you're not hooked after the Red Baron, the game is probably not for you. So what do you guys expect we will see as improvements? They said ray tracing. They didn't really specify it. They will show first gameplay next week during a stream, they said. Maybe Dutch, what do you think? What will we see in this patch?
I think it's just an all-round graphical enhancements, better, like more fidelity, more a higher level of detail. I think the ray tracing will be ray trace shadows. I don't think it'll be full-on ray tracing. If it is, I'd be surprised.
I mean, the game already runs on Series X in 4K 60.
Yeah.
It probably does it effortlessly too, because this game, I mean, at the end of the day, this game, I mean, it was a demanding game around the time that it's come out, but with these consoles now, I think this consoles would be able to handle it pretty well. I definitely think it's going to be a resolution bump for sure. I think it's going to be a lot of things from the PC Witcher 3 that are going to end up coming over into the console version.
To the consoles.
Yeah. But I feel like there's going to be more, which is kind of like why I've held off on it, because it kind of comes across like they even want to add more to the game overall, right? Not just consoles, but on PC too, potentially, which is going to be really interesting. So they could add more stuff throughout the world, make it feel more lived in. Again, maybe some updates to the Gwent game inside. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh, don't get me started on the Gwent game.
No, when I tell you the first time I played, I think that's what messed me up. The first time I ever played Witcher, because I played it total twice. The second time I couldn't get past 3 hours. The first time I got completely infatuated with Gwent. I sat there that first time that you get to play. I played for like 6 hours, and then I never went back to play the game.
That's what The Witcher does to you, yeah, right? No, I also think because the performance mode that lets the game run in at 60 FPS, which is also available on the One X, actually has no resolution cap, so. That's why it runs at native 4K 60 FPS already on the Xbox Series X, simply because there's so much overhead. So that's really cool. I also think they will implement a couple of physics stuff that the PC version has, like it has incredible hair physics and stuff like that. I agree with Dutch. Ray tracing, I wouldn't expect full-on global illumination ray traced, like we got, for instance, in Metro Exodus or so. So I think it's maybe shadows, reflections, but that's about it. Still cannot wait to dive back into this world. So, yeah.
8K textures.
8K textures, man. All right. What else do we have on sale here? We'd already talked about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and how everyone should definitely get it. Ghost Recon is on there. Tomb Raider games, the entire trilogy, Survivor trilogy,
Wow,
for $20.
$20.
If you haven't played it, absolutely worth it. Oh, that's a good one. Unravel.
Bundle for $6.
Cannot go wrong with that. Watch Dogs is on there, and the Wolfenstein. Whenever I talk to Americans, I start to pronounce Wolfenstein wrong, like you guys do. You always say Wolfenstein or something like that. It's Wolfenstein. Yeah, exactly. There we go. They are on there. Absolutely worth it. And the Yakuza games are on there. XCOM for $10.
Like a Dragon for $20. That's awesome. Is that
That's
the big
awesome.
edition
That's a
as well?
steal.
All
the Hero edition. Kind of looks to me like that. Even better. And I think that's about it. There's of course a lot of DLC and add-ons. We're not gonna go through that. So guys, that's the Xbox sale. Let us know definitely what you want to pick up, what caught your attention, and most importantly, I also want to would appreciate some feedback. If you guys enjoyed this thing where we just browsed briefly through the sale, because we have never done that before. Definitely let me know if you enjoyed this. So we might bring it back. But let's talk about some of the news of the week. Let's start with the big Phil Spencer interview. The Phil Spencer interview came out this way. Phil is lately like 2 interviews per week or so, it feels. So in this one, he gave a couple of statements. The first was actually on the rumored streaming device and the stick. And he said they had to choose or deprioritize the development of the game streaming device because they were struggling to make it cost effectively. The Xbox wanted to hit the $99 to $129 price point with a controller. The controller included for the streaming device, pardon me. You guys think that would be the right price point? Would it sell at, let's say, 150, maybe 180? I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I do think it opens up. I think the biggest reason why they held it back, because honestly, that point that you bring up right there, right? When you look at $149 to up to $200, at that point, you're kind of leaning towards the Series S at that point. So it kind of becomes, okay, well, by the time the Keystone, the streaming device becomes relevant, is the Series S going to be around that price point anyway? $229, $249 regularly. So it's like, why would you put out something that's a lot more, for lack of a better way to put it, a little bit more basic, or I should say much more basic in terms of what it's going to be doing for you. But I do think that $100, anywhere between $79 to that $129 price point is really ideal, right? Because you can do it on a sale, you can do it on a Black Friday, drop it and people can invest right then if they feel like it's worth it. And then it can go up later if they wanted to, because it's not something you'll necessarily depend on, but it is something that I think would be attractive for people who are looking for another option, right? You get something that's like a Roku stick or something, and then you come to find out it has a controller. Why do I have a controller? I don't play games. And then before you know it, I'm Game Pass for 3 months. Oh, what is Game Pass? They get it. They enter the code because people love getting codes. They can't help that. That's a human thing. As consumers, I should say. That's more a consumer thing. I do the same thing. But but they'll get that, and then before you know it, they play one game. They weren't a gamer. Then they play another game, Vampire Survivors. They play 5 minutes of that. They're like, oh, now I got to play another 10 minutes. And it carries on. And then boom, before you know it, you have a brand new person within that ecosystem. Maybe not playing at the best quality possible, but at a level that's good enough for them, because not everybody sees it as us enthusiasts do, right? Exactly. So I think it'll be a good, I think he's right on the nail. Again, between Phil, Satya, and just what Xbox and Microsoft are doing, there's just such on the pulse of what the industry is looking for, and what they're wanting overall. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Dutch. What are your thoughts on this streaming stick? $100, around $100, including.
I think,
Oh, you're
yeah, I
good.
think you think what he mentioned. I think Phil said something like $130 with a controller included.
Yeah.
I think that's, to be honest, that's a good price point.
Yeah.
It's a really good
Yeah.
price point. If you've got a controller with it, of course, controllers by themselves, as you know, costs almost $60, 60 odd bucks. So that's the streaming stick for 60 and the controller on top of that. So no, I think that's the perfect price point, to be honest, especially for what it will do, which is essentially just take it with you and plug it into any TV that you come across. No, I think that's the perfect price point. I don't think
I agree.
you go any lower, then that's absolutely making a loss, I think.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the other aspect too that I kind of think of it is like for people like us who will invest, it's kind of one of those things to where maybe you don't want to get another console for whatever reason. You just want to plug this into whatever other room that you're in and you have access to all
for the
your
casual experience, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think like at that price point, it could make sense to have that as an entry option
Right.
for the casual gamers. But now they have that Samsung app, and obviously they prioritize that, which makes even more sense. Although now that you have that barrier, of course, because people have to get out and get the controller. I know it's cheaper than getting the stick, but you know, people sometimes work or think weirdly, and
That's true. But the other thing too that I think what Xbox is kind of like trying to get into is like having that outreach to the kids, which is why they have that variety of games. So it's like if you got kids in the house, there's a possibility you got controllers in the house, and if I can give you something else, then maybe you'll go steal one of those controllers.
It could be. It could be that I do that.
So.
Indeed. So Phil also talked, of course, about the ABK deal. And one ongoing discussion is, of course, what's going on with the Call of Duty exclusivity on PlayStation, not on PlayStation, for how long? And he actually said he's open to committing to Sony that Call of Duty will stay on PlayStation longer term. Forever deal will not happen. So he talked about, he's open to see Call of Duty on PlayStation 6. Yeah. So do you think that this will bring Sony to that point where they just stop complaining? Because like literally they are the only one in the gaming industry that is actually complaining about this acquisition. Committing for longer term to at least the PlayStation 6. You guys think that would be enough to silence that conversation? Please go ahead.
Sony will always find a way.
I think the biggest thing for me right now is this. I want to see the potential of somebody else being able to be number one, right? Of course, you got to earn it. I'm not saying it should just be given, just because Microsoft spent almost $80 billion on acquisitions and everything within the last couple of years, that they should just be given it. But it comes across continuously like nobody else can have that spot other than Sony. And if they don't have that spot, it's everybody else's problem that they don't have that. But I do think at this point, Phil's getting tired of talking about it. In his most recent interview, it came across. This is the first time, like at least that I've noticed recently, where he's come across annoyed about the question. Maybe it was just an interviewer, because that's also possible. But he was just like, I am tired of talking about this. Like, there's other, like, and he even mentioned Candy Crush. Like, mobile is the reason why we did this deal. Call of Duty, if Call of Duty needs to be on PlayStation, I don't care. I'm not giving it to you. I can't promise you forever, because that's not how business works. The forever deals don't happen. And if that's what they're expecting, PlayStation's not going to get that. And if they do get that for whatever reason, I do think that there is a much bigger deal in the industry, because again, you're basically saying that nobody else other than Sony can hold this position, and they have to hold this position. I don't think that's right.
I think the problem, I think the ultimate problem, and sort of one that Sony just doesn't want to say publicly and fully, is that the main and only main concern for them isn't that they'll lose Call of Duty, because they know deep down they're not losing Call of Duty. Their main concern and their main scare is the fact that they lose the advertising rights, and they know when that game is on Game Pass, which it will be in the future, and eventually the games will go date into Game Pass. That's their concern, is like, well, why would anybody buy Call of Duty on PlayStation? Because it's going to be advertised as part of Game Pass, and people will just get it on Game Pass. And that is their problem, that they can't advertise the game as if it's an exclusive. And they've always, with Call of Duty, outside of Ghosts, which I think Microsoft pulled the short end of the stick.
Ghosts was bad. Yeah.
Class.
But outside of that one, they've essentially marketed that game like it's first party since they've had the rights. So naturally, every time somebody mentions Call of Duty, they just assume you have it on PlayStation, like everybody. And it's like, no, I'll play it on Xbox. Like, but thankfully now there's crossplay, although that took a while, thanks Sony. Eventually, we've got crossplay across everywhere. Right. So no matter if you're on PlayStation or Xbox or PC, play together, which is great. But yeah, their main concern is the fact that they won't be able to advertise that as essentially their own. I think that is the sticking point, and that's something that they will not come out and say. It's not that the game won't be on the console, because they know it will be.
Of course.
They're just so frightened of losing that spotlight.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too,
market share to Microsoft at the end. Call of Duty is a system seller, and if you print Call of Duty on the Xbox Series S box, and you sell that console for $250 or below, like next year or whenever, and
they actually did that, Boxy, in America. It was Best Buy's Black Friday sales, I think it was.
Series S with Call of Duty.
Series S with Call of Duty for $250. I was like,
there you go.
It's a killer, man. Like,
that's
again,
a killer.
There's so many avenues that they have with that. Xbox can take it and do different things. But to kind of add on to the conversation, the other big thing that PlayStation is considering, which is why I feel like the other reason why they're really coming across the way they are, at the end of the day, they are going to lose revenue for this deal going through. It's not going to be the same 70-30 split. Even if Microsoft maintained the 70-30 with going Microsoft's way, that's still a lot of revenue that Sony was obviously depending on at some point for whatever amount of deals that they were trying to cut. And I think that's the biggest thing, because it's a lot of money that's on the table. Again, you see the type of money Call of Duty is able to make within 2 weeks of it being released, right? It's just, I think that's why those conversations end up happening too, because again, you're seeing a lot of the behind the scenes conversation that the industry tries to be kind of sneaky about or not really vocal about a lot of the time. You're seeing that come to the forefront, which also makes this unique. And again, it's making Sony, hopefully, and PlayStation look at things differently. Again, hopefully their service games come out to be exactly what they need. Hopefully Factions comes out and is exactly, I'll invest day one. That's what I'm waiting on, right?
You know what's really interesting this week specifically is seeing on physical sales, we know that the split is 70-30 digital for PlayStation in the UK, but physically, God of War Ragnarok outselling Call of Duty does not help their pitch on, it's going to be such a big loss.
Right.
When ultimately the facts will show, well, listen, you said Call of Duty is this big juggernaut, but you have a juggernaut that's just come out.
That's the point, though, right?
Exactly.
It's like Strauss Zelnick said, if you make great games, the people will come.
Exactly. And I think, like Phil, like you said, Steele, Phil isn't really worried about committing to more than the 3 years we heard before. So because ultimately the deal isn't about Call of Duty.
No.
We've said it on this show for the entire year, actually. Like, what do console gamers get when that deal goes through? It's Call of Duty, which is big, no doubt, but that's about it. It's, for me personally, the Bethesda deal was bigger because I get now Doom, Wolfenstein, all the Bethesda RPGs, Starfield coming up, and so on. That's right up my alley. But on consoles for now, and it will be for a long time, even if they resurrect some of the IPs, we will only get Call of Duty. On PC, Diablo. You get also World of Warcraft, stuff like that. But the big deal is, of course, the big thing is about the mobile games, and Phil had to talk about talked a little bit about that as well. And I want to read that because it kind of touches a little bit on the future of Xbox, and I want to discuss that with you. But first, I want to read a couple of sentences from that interview. Phil had to say the following. In terms of the Activision opportunity, and I keep saying this over and over, it is true, it definitely starts with a view that people want to play games on every device that they have. In a funny way, the smallest screen that we play on is actually the biggest screen when you think about the install base on phones. That's just a place where if we don't gain relevance as a gaming brand, we are not alone in seeing this. Over time, the business will become kind of untenable for us in any way. If we are not able to find customers on phones on any screen that someone wants to play on, you really are going to get segmented to a niche part of gaming that is running a global business will become very challenging. As a percent of the overall gaming business, the console business is shrinking because the overall business is growing and console stays relatively flat as a business. Same thing with PC. And when you look at the largest gaming companies out there, Tencent being the biggest gaming company in the world, so much of their revenue comes from mobile, and then they put their business success that they have earned through the work that they have done into the market, acquiring other studios at a very fast rate. So there's a lot in there, but I wanted to read the whole thing because I want to dissect this a little bit with you. He talked about, of course, when you look at the entire console market or a gaming market on a global scale, the console part is shrinking. That doesn't mean that consoles aren't doing well.
Right.
They are just not growing as fast as mobile.
Mm-hmm.
He also says that their gaming brand will become irrelevant if they don't find success on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he talks about that they need that money from mobile in order to acquire more because that's what Tencent is doing. And so, guys, that's a really good look in the future of Xbox. So, do you guys see Xbox becoming more like also a mobile gaming company, and how will this impact the more traditional gaming market for us, like the console and PC space? Steel, what do you think?
I do think it's going to heavily impact the market overall because as we see, these mobile games tend to drive not only like whales, which is people who spend huge money on these games. They don't want to wait. They have all the money in the world, but no time to wait. So they'll spend money on the game to progress or whatever else the case might be. And there's going to be games like that that you'll end up being able to access on like for an example, Game Pass Mobile. So where now you're getting energy for Candy Crush or anything like that through that service. It's constantly refilling itself. You have a reason to stay invested. And in turn, because you're kind of growing that, and there's not the thing that mobile has that the console market doesn't have and the PC market doesn't have, and the PC market's expanded some with some of their handhelds, and Nintendo has that, is that casual market. It's easy. Everybody has a phone. It's easy for somebody to tap an app and load it up. If they got to go home, they'll put the game on pause, people love that, right? It's convenient for them. They can do it. They can pull it out and do it whenever they like, which is exactly what Xbox and Microsoft is trying to lead into. And the more people, again, people laugh at 3 billion. I say the 3 billion number all the time, but it's factual information. If we can start pouring or at least tapping into that market like Xbox is trying to, we in turn are going to get better games, more valued games, better performing games in the long run, because there will be consistent different IPs that can be invested into. There could be more devs that have money behind them now that feel like they're appreciated in the industry that they're working in, because that's the other thing that people miss. We talked about the human element a little bit behind the show, but again, from what I can recall and the information, the research that I've done, a lot of devs don't stay in the gaming industry for more than 5 years. And I make this point, how would you like to go into an industry and know that you're going to be burnt out in 5 years? Because you're not being treated well, because you're putting your heart, soul, and effort. And I make this point too, gaming is art and should be treated as such. Shout out to Everborn Saga, because it's people spend years of their lives creating these experiences for us. And that's why no experience is too small, no experience is too big. Mobile games is going to be a huge reason why we continue to get the experiences that we as the enthusiasts want, because now more people are going to be invested, more money is going to be floating around. Single player games can continue to exist. Because that's my biggest fear, is that as much as I might not be a single player focused gamer, I do enjoy those experiences. And if things don't change, those experiences are not going to be viable, because they're currently not viable. And these heads have come out and said, this is not doable anymore. You guys are not buying enough games. We have to do something different.
Yeah. You bring up a lot of great points. I will touch on a few of them in a second, but Dutchy, I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I think on the mobile front, there's going to be a huge push. We know that they're already speaking to mobile devs. And this is new mobile devs for creating content going forward. We know there's already a mobile app in the works, and by mobile app, we don't mean it's another one to go alongside Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. It's going to be
they work on a mobile storefront. Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be a push going forward as well to create high quality mobile games. I don't think they're looking to do these easy cash grab games where it's filled with microtransactions. I think they're looking to create kind of, should we say, premium mobile games. The best ones I can kind of think of, and surprisingly, is the likes of your Call of Duty Mobile, which is actually quite highly polised for what it is.
Genshin too, considering.
Yeah. Final Fantasy's mobile versions are high quality. There used to be something, I think it was one called Chaos Rings or something similar to that. That used to be really high quality.
Even KOTOR plays actually really well on mobile.
Yeah. So there's a lot of high quality games, and I think that's the avenue they're going down. I think because they know a lot of people want or do play mobile games, and it's not just about now creating these cash grab games. They want to reach more people with high quality single player experiences and multiplayer experiences. And I think the benefit they've got now is they've had this time with Xbox Game Pass and the cloud gaming, they've had the opportunity to work on touch controls for actual console games on mobile. So being able to refine these console experiences to be able to work with touch controls, and we're talking big titles as well as small, I think going forward as well with the developers, considering the touch controls are done by a team of, I think, 7 or 8 people or something as small as that. And they're all bespoke touch controls as well for every game. It's all bespoke. They've all got the little things tweaked for them and that add nice little images for them. I think that's the kind of experiences they want to go for. I think really high polished mobile experiences that have the option to use a controller and or touch screen controls, but is fully integrated in the Xbox ecosystem. So you still get your achievements, you still have your friends list, you still have your party chats. I think everything like that for Microsoft on the mobile front going forward will be kind of a refined, should we say, Xbox experience, but for mobile as opposed to just having mobile games.
You know, it's Dutch, you bring that up, you know what's crazy. You think about Vampire Survivors, right? Which just came out. That game was not on mobile, but the devs, after the game went into Game Pass, there had to have been some other deal cut behind the scenes where it was just like Xbox probably sat in a room with them, was like, hey, you guys want this on mobile? We got this cloud thing. We can get some touch controls working for you guys. What do you think? And now you see that there's touch controls in the game. You can play it through xCloud on the go.
Yeah.
Like how you see you start seeing those gears kind of turning, right?
Yeah. So, and again, much like and this is another thing that came off the back of an interview with Sawyer from Obsidian talking about.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, Dutch. We have a separate topic for that.
But the quote really will emphasize what Game Pass on mobile will do for the independent mobile devs as well.
Yeah.
these niche mobile titles that a lot of people wouldn't even bother thinking about playing because of Game Pass will now bring such a huge audience on mobile. I think it's going to be a massive thing for them. So I think,
yeah,
I
think also even more in the cash. I mean, what you guys just mentioned is basically turning us core gamers into mobile gamers, but I think Microsoft is also thinking of the other way around, where you have like, because a casual gamer, like my wife plays Candy Crush, so and that's it. She doesn't play anything else, and she would never ever look, even if it was on the store, look at a Vampire Survivor. I don't think that's the audience, the target audience for that. That is us core gamers that'll know, oh, that's a cool indie game. I can now play that at work when I'm sitting on the toilet for 2 hours. That's where we core gamers play that stuff. The thing is, I think what Microsoft wants to do is they want to implement Game Pass in Candy Crush somehow. Like, I don't know if they do it in Candy Crush, but just as an example here, I'm using Candy Crush now as an example. What they want to do is those casual gamers that ride the trains and play these games like, I don't know, on the go, and suddenly you can either buy the I don't know what they are called, the in-game
energy or whatever,
energy crystals or whatever. Yeah, you can buy them for, I don't know, $20, or you get a certain amount each month for a subscription service that is called Game Pass, and you just subscribe, and suddenly on your app it says, hey, want to try this game or this game and that game, and that's how you bring in like the casuals into that ecosystem.
Good point.
I think that's what their end goal kind of looks like. And besides that, it's just they want a piece of the cake. They look at it. Mobile is by far, it's not even close, the biggest revenue stream in gaming. So of course they just want something from that cake. And I do hope that one thing is true. What Phil says is that they don't. That they also intend to use that money to acquire new stuff. And I hope that this is not just related to new mobile stuff, but then we will finally, hopefully, see like a Crytek in the Xbox roster. That's what we want. So it'll be interesting. But we learned definitely this deal is not just about Call of Duty, even though everyone talks about it as if it was. It is about the mobile aspect of King of Activision Blizzard King. So anything you guys want to add, because then I want to use that as a segue for the topic Dutch brought up, which is quite interesting. Pentiment. I think we need to talk about two things here, because the first thing is that I think everyone is surprised about how well it reviews.
That's true.
Honestly, like an IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, EGM 5 out of 5, VG 24/7 gave it a 5 out of 5, Windows Central 5 out of 5, Dexterto 5 out of 5, God is a Geek 9 out of 10, and so on. The list continues. It's getting super high reviews, really good reviews, and I mean, of course, it's Obsidian, and Josh Sawyer has its track record. But after seeing this at the Xbox showcase, I think a lot of people were kind of like, disappointed, I would say. Oh, that's the only Xbox first-party game that comes out. It simply from the looks of it, it's not what gamers wanted. But now it's getting great reviews, and I always say that's the beauty of Game Pass. It lets you try out different things, new things you wouldn't probably invest money in. I haven't tried it yet, so I can't really talk about the quality of the game itself, but I know Obsidian, and I know that I've said this so many times on the show that I feel like Obsidian is what Insomniac is to PlayStation. Obsidian is like this very well-oiled machine. They know how to develop a game. They know how to develop a game on time. They have their pipeline filled. They came out and said, we want to release a game every year. They have multiple they are a big studio. They are above 300 people according to Globe Relay on Twitter. So they have multiple teams. They want to bring out a game each year. Not every game is a big one. This year they released actually 2 games. Grounded was fantastic. The full release, I loved it. Outer Worlds, one of the best RPGs in my opinion of the last gen. They have their track record. Fallout New Vegas was the best Fallout to date. And I challenge everyone on that. But yeah, I feel Obsidian is like this gem, and that's why I'm even more excited now for Avowed, and want to see what that game will eventually be. But besides these fantastic reviews, and I'll hand it to you guys in a second, the game director came out and had a super interesting quote, because Josh Sawyer said Pentiment wouldn't exist without Game Pass. He said, I never would have proposed making Pentiment without Game Pass. Like, I literally just wouldn't have done it. I just don't think it would have been possible. And there we go. We already see it now. Yeah. Games that are super well received at the end get made because there wouldn't be a business case on their own if they would just release in retail or digital stores. But thanks to the subscription service, they finally end up being a business case and getting greenlit. So, Dutch, I want to go to you this time first, because you brought it up already earlier. So I know you're itching to talk about it. Let's hear your thoughts on this.
No, it's great to hear, because of course I think what this will do for specifically someone of Sawyer's stature in the industry, because obviously he's well renowned and well loved within the development community, for what he's created, for what he's done within Obsidian and the worlds that he's helped create there. But what that's really emphasized for all developers, large and small, is that essentially working with the Xbox team, with the Xbox Game Pass team, you will be able to essentially not really worry about the type of game you're creating and have more creative freedom and not worry about it kicking off. If your game is creative enough, especially being part of the Xbox family internally, if you've got a crazy idea and you want to try and bring it to light, like they allowed the Grounded team with such a small team, like they allowed Tom Sawyer, such a phenomenal
Josh Sawyer, not Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer.
Thinking about the book.
Who's Tom Sawyer again? Why not say Tom Sawyer? Oh dear me. Yeah, God. But yeah, with Josh Sawyer, sorry, both of those teams had these internal ideas that they wanted to come to light, and Xbox and Obsidian went, go for it. Why not? What's to lose? Have fun, create it. We'll see what happens. Both of those games come out, both highly received. We've again Grounded on 10 million plus players. Pentiment's come out, super niche title, about kind of 1600s like Germanic tale, like murder mystery tale, and a really cool little art style. And it's rave reviews. Like, granted, there wasn't many people that actually reviewed it. It was like 20, 30 people or something like that. But all of them were overwhelmingly positive. And for them, specifically for that type of title, is just such a great thing to see. I think it really lifts up developers to essentially go, okay, so I can make this crazy idea in my head come to light, and it will stand a chance of being successful. And I think what that'll do internally for Xbox studios as well, across the board, is that it might also encourage some other creative minds within these studios to come out and say, I've got this idea, and this is my idea, and pitch it to their hierarchy, and potentially get other new titles out like that. And that's kind of what we want to see. We want to see that creativity in the industry. Whether or not we want to play it, and it's something we would play, isn't the point. It's being able to get these people having these creative experiences that come out.
Do something differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fully with you. That's why we love indie games, right?
Yeah.
Because indie games can take higher risks in the creativity. They can do stuff that a AAA studio can't do, simply because, and people forget that sometimes, it's really a high risk thing to develop a game, because you spend years and millions of dollars each and every year. You have to run to the bank and lend you money for years. And then you make all that money hopefully back within like 2 months or so, when the game actually comes out. So making a game is financially a super high risk thing to do. And a subscription service like Game Pass gives you financial security, because you have that continuous stream of revenue, of income, and that provides security to the studios, because they don't have to go to the bank and ask for money for many years. And like that, you phrased it beautifully. Hopefully it encourages others, creative minds within the Xbox roster and other studios to just pitch their two-man passion project, and we get these little gems within the big AAA studios every once in a while. So, Steele, what do you think about this? You surprised by Pentiment? Have you actually tried it, or?
I am extremely surprised by Pentiment, because a lot of the things that we seen coming up to it, to me, it came across like a flip book. And to be completely honest, everything that I've seen up to this point,
Bible the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Since I've seen more of it now, it has completely solidified the fact that I am not interested in this game. But the great thing about that, though, is because every game isn't for every gamer. But like you guys just mentioned beautifully, and this is something that I will always stand on, is that we do need creativity, because this is something that you always bring up, Box, and it's like AAA, AA, whatever the case may be, there's so much that they have to kind of make up for, whereas somebody who's new, trying to do new things, they don't have that same standard, so they can try. And I want to see that continue to happen, because we will not get better games, we will not get newer experiences if these things just don't continue to happen. And that's one of the biggest things that I'll always, champion Game Pass for, is because even for me, it has allowed me to try, even if I wanted to try Pentiment, the fact that it's available for me to download, to try it, is a beautiful thing. And if I never do it, oh well, that's a me problem. But for everybody else who see these reviews and thinks that this stuff is serious, and maybe if you were even remotely interested, it only takes a little bit of something to get you invested. And then before you know it, I've seen so many people say, hey, the first hour of this game was boring, but I don't mind the reading, and it ended up being great 3 hours later. I was like, well, okay, great. And to see that, again, for this to be a passion project like Dutch Amanda, even Grounded. I've watched my wife play Grounded since it's a release, right? In like early access, I guess you could call it. Even to now, and just seeing how the game has grown and how she's grown with the game and what she appreciates about it. It's one of those things. I just want to continue to see devs do that, have that option available to them where they don't have to. For an example, if it wasn't for this ABK deal, everybody at Activision Blizzard would still be making Call of Duty, continue to make Call of Duty. That'd be the only game they make, as we see now, right? Where you have 10 different dev teams, 15 different dev teams, looks like, seems like, working on one game with no hope to kind of expand out, because nothing else makes financial sense to them. So.
Yeah,
I agree.
Fully agree. I really can't add anything to it, because you're spot on, man. Spot on. So let's move on from Pentiment a little bit and go to Dead Island 2. Not the biggest topic of the week, but I wanted to mention it. Dead Island 2 was supposed to come out in February next year, and it's now getting delayed to April. And we always say, and I think we all agree here, a delayed game is eventually good. We agree with Miyamoto. What I want to talk about is, I want to use this as an opportunity to discuss one thing. And we all talk about how full 2023 is looking right now. And we already see the first delays happening before the year even started. So, yeah, guys, the first half is packed with games. But obviously, there will be delays. What do you think? Will 23 be as full as we think it is? Or do you feel like there are other candidates for a delay?
I think it will be. I think 2023 is definitely lining up to be mainly because Xbox's biggest goal right now, at least what they've made known to us, is them release a first-party studio game or an internal game from them every quarter, right? And 2023 could possibly show an example of what that would look like. Now, even if they only did 3 games, even if they only did 2 games, it's more than they had this year, which would definitely be a benefit to them because, again, you do need those titles that are going to give you a reason to invest in the ecosystem, which we really haven't had to see this year, right? There are some, but nothing to that people would say are of the quality they may be looking for a lot of the time. So I personally think that Microsoft is set to set an example. And I only say that because a lot of the games that are in 2023 now were delayed previously, right? In games like Dead Island 2, for an example, like that just came out of nowhere. We got an announcement for that. They tried to give us a date and we were like, really? We just heard about this game. Wasn't there a lot of turmoil going on? Weren't y'all struggling to get this game together? And now you have all of a sudden out of nowhere release date. And then you go into February and you start looking at some of those titles that are around there. And this is something that I proposed about Dead Island 2 when I first heard this. As cool as the first Dead Island was, it's still so far removed. You have to introduce a new audience to it and have people that want to invest into it. And why would they do that when they have Hogwarts, Atomic Heart, Deliver Us from Mars, Destiny 2 Lightfall comes out February, a game called Sons of the Forest. Like there's other games that are coming out in that same month that would grab that attention from something that you're trying to revitalize, right? We saw that same kind of effect happen to the Left 4 Dead clone. I can't even think of the Back 4 Blood. The same kind of effect happened where it's just like it tried to iterate on what was great for a lot of people back in the day and it didn't hit the same. So it's like, is this game going to hit the same? And maybe they had to push it out. But right now, I do think it's lining up for Microsoft to kind of prove or set an example of what they're trying to do for the future. And that's giving a game of theirs every quarter.
You think April is looking better for a game like Dead Island?
I think so.
Because next year, I think every month is kind of full.
It's kind of crazy regardless. April does seem better. I mean, again, you get into the summer and it just depends on because again, you bring up a good point. I mean, there's always could be other games that get delayed, especially with us now having a real focal point on it. And I think these teams are not listening, right? Whether it's the publishers that are listening, but they see that like the consumers are starting to say, hey, we're not going to keep investing in these broke games. Wow, I mean, we'll do it for certain ones, but for the most part, there is something there that they have to maintain. So,
yeah, true.
True.
Dutch, what do you think?
Sorry, I completely blanked out there.
We're talking about that island getting delayed, and if we feel like we will see another delay spree in 23.
No, I don't. I don't think the vast majority of games in 2023 will be delayed. I think Dead Island being delayed again is just ironic. I think it's like 8 years or something ridiculous. Like I can't believe that game's been delayed again. I seen it the other day and I was just like, really? Like after all this, how after all this time and after so many delays for this game, has this game delayed again? I don't understand it. Like, surely after all that time, especially Dead Island, when you've waited so long to say, right, okay, eventually, I know we've delayed it, but it's ready to show. Here's the release date, and then delay it again. It's like, there's something not right with that game.
It's like you're deflating the balloon. Why did you inflate it if you're going to just take the air out of it?
Yeah, like if it was never ready, why? because it's been delayed that many times. Right now, everyone's just going, "Oh God, not again."
That's
So they'll
true.
come to the release date next year, and people will be like, "Is it coming out though? Like, is really?"
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a lot of trepidation. Like, there's going to be a lot of people thinking, "Is this game actually ready to go, or is there going to be some serious issues with this thing?"
Yeah.
With its significant issues, like with its development throughout the years, a
Yeah.
long development cycle. I would have concerns over it, to be honest, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people, after seeing this delay, go, "I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait."
And Dying Light 2 it didn't take as long as this one did, but Dying Light 2 had a lot of issues, and it came out to be a really good game. So there is that high possibility where, maybe this is that last little push they needed. But it's like when you have that competition like a Dying Light 2, and they're probably going to plan to release another expansion because this is the first one that they just recently released. So how are you going to compete with that, especially a game that's now really coming to its form? Because that's the thing about Dying Light. No matter what time that you kind of jump into it, anybody can jump in and you can just have a good time. So
I think, I think across the board, I think the only delays we're likely to see is a reshuffling for the schedule, so that certain games feel like they're not. And they might even come out and say as such, and essentially just say, "Listen, we're delaying the game because the schedule, like it is, we've got like we did at the beginning of this year, we had the Cyberpunk next gen patch. No, was it next gen? No, the Cyberpunk. What was it?
Yeah.
It was the next gen patch.
Cyberpunk next gen patch. It dropped in the middle of February out of nowhere.
Yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, Cyberpunk, like all in the same, like literally the same week, and it was like no one's got, like, they're all huge games. And this is the problem going into 23. Like some of these, should we say, not so huge games, by that I mean kind of not well-known IPs. So you've got, for instance, Dead Space, like that's gonna sell, that's gonna do well. You've got, like, again, you've got the likes Redfall that'll be on Game Pass, so that's going to get eyes on, so that's fine. But other games that aren't huge, like Hogwarts Legacy, will fly off the shelves anyway. It's a Harry Potter game, so it's going to go. But other titles that don't have that name behind them, they're going to be the ones that think we're going to suffer here if we don't do something with this scheduling. And there might be over the Christmas break, they might be looking at things and going, "What do we need to do here? Like, where do we need to position ourselves?" Because it is, and I feel sorry. It's going to come to a stage as well. Every one of us is going to pick that game, play it, and then a lot of stuff's going to be pushed on the back burner, and then you're going to wait and you're going to wait. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have like sales suffering in the initial sections, and then get sputters of sales later on in the year.
Yeah.
Next year is just gonna be a fight for our time. Between all those games.
I mean, so it's a huge privilege to have as a gamer.
Right? Yeah. 100%.
It's such. I feel sorry for every one of them because it is just packed. It's just so packed, and trying to get your game noticed next year, it's going to have to be something special to take people's times away.
Yeah, true.
100%.
Indeed. And I'm not sure if Dead Island is going to be that game.
Yeah, that's the thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Indeed.
That time.
Indeed. So, one last thing before we discuss or talk about the community questions today. I want to briefly talk about Perfect Dark with you, gentlemen.
Ooh, okay.
Because that just broke earlier. That Crystal Dynamics actually came out and said the development is going extremely well. I read the quote real quick. "What's been so promising internally is seeing how our team took on this opportunity and a new way of working. If we think about the future of how we work, collaboration across studios, across time zones, across geographies, across different companies will all become more common. So it's great to see that the team at the initiative and our team across Crystal Studios working so well together." Perfect Dark gets mentioned a lot lately as well, as just as Fable did. We talked about Fable last week. And I mean, the Game Awards are just around the corner, right? Oh, right. We need to talk about those as well. So we have two topics before we move to the community questions. There we go. I almost forgot one of the headline stories of today's show. So yeah, but Perfect Dark. The development is going extremely well according to Crystal Dynamics, which is great to hear. What do you guys think? What will Perfect Dark end up being? Is it gonna be like the first person shooter? Is it gonna be third person? I know they said very early in development that they aim for a first person view, but who knows with Crystal Dynamics on board? So what do you expect, and when do you expect we see that game? Steel, take it away.
Perfect Dark. What an interesting game, man, for a lot of people. I'm myself, I don't have that same kind of heartfelt memory for Perfect Dark. I do remember playing some of it back in the day, but it's never been one of those titles where it's like, oh man, look at this game. It's great. To me personally. Now, I personally am hoping that Perfect Dark does come out to at least have a third person, maybe an option, just because I do think that a different take on the character, which I think they're going to do anyway, but a different perspective, I should say, would be a better word for this, would be something that Xbox necessarily needs, right? Because first person games isn't what Xbox is missing. I think it's more so on the third person side that where they're lacking some of that quality, and Perfect Dark has the potential to be maybe not necessarily take the place of like a Splinter Cell, for an example, and to be that female futuristic character that we're looking for. But it definitely would have I think it will make a huge impact, because then Lord Cognito says this, it'd be that just one that a lot of people look for, because again, people want Sony's style games, part of that, part of the Xbox ecosystem. And I think
third person over the shoulder action experience.
I think Perfect Dark would be the best use of that because of the world. It'll be newer for a lot of people. Again, that's another one of those games to where, guys, if you didn't play that back in the day, or quite some time removed, way more than 10 years, so you have to pull in a whole new audience, and I think making it third person would be a perfect opportunity. But I'm not worried about it. Again, we heard some things about Crystal Dynamics and people being in and out, and people that don't know what the direction is going to be, and it's like, let the game be made. I don't think the game's going to end up being released until about 2025, though, personally. But I that's also just because I do want them to take their time on it. I want this to be a game that I come in and I'm like, man, this is what I want Perfect Dark to be, because what I remember from it wasn't as fond, right? So,
okay, good thinking. I agree with the third person view. It would be perfect. I'm not sure about it because we had this development diary, and I think it was like 2 years ago, or maybe it was already 3 years ago, where they said that they aim for a first person, kind of like a body cam, first person view, but that was so early in the project, never know. So, these kind of things are subject to change. So Dutch, what do you think will Perfect Dark become?
I'm hoping it's kind of going to be a hybrid. I hope it gives you the option between first and third, and you choose. I think that would be the perfect way to look at it, because some people, and especially when you're playing shooters, you might want to go between first and third, especially if it's, if it's Gears of War, it needs to be third. It wouldn't, Gears of War wouldn't work as a first person.
Indeed.
But like a Halo, that could be first and third.
Could definitely be both.
Like Perfect Dark, a stealth game, absolutely could be first and third. We've seen, of course, if you're going for a stealth game, you have to ultimately think Metal Gear. And Metal Gear as a stealth game absolutely works in third person. So, and to be honest, to give you a better viewpoint, especially when you're trying to creep around corners or you're trying to kind of sneak up on things, third person is ultimately the best kind of viewpoint for it. But having the option to go into first person mode like just click the right stick down or something, and it goes first person, or transitions back into third person. I think that would probably be the best version of it. But Crystal Dynamics do great work. Fantastic developers.
Indeed. Yeah.
Really high quality games in terms of visual fidelity as well as performance.
Yeah.
I have no doubt if Crystal Dynamics are saying it's going well, then I trust the word of Crystal Dynamics. It's ultimately it's good news. What came after a bit of a turbulent spell where there was quite a few people leaving, and they were saying there was issues with it and things like that. It's great to hear developers come out, specifically the ones partnered with them, saying no, it's going really great. Good news eventually for Perfect Dark, and start to get a little bit more excited to see more of it. And at this point though, I still think it is going to be a mid to late 24 game by the time we
24.
see it come out. However,
I agree there.
I think we could see it. I think we could see the game showcase next year. Essentially saying, okay, well, it's coming out QX of 2024. I think we'll get a window next year as to when we can expect it in 24. But I think we'll see gameplay, we'll see footage, we'll see what it's about next year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good shout.
All right. Mainly the reason I say that though, as a final point, is I think Microsoft right now, with the games they have already lined up for next year, are in absolutely no rush to push games to be out next year now. I think I keep going to say Mike Ybarra, but it's not Mike. It's what's the other chap? Matt Booty. Matt Booty. He mentioned and this is obviously a reference, and it was to, I think, was it to Rand, or I think it was Rand or Tim Dog. It was one of the two. That was where the conversation originally stemmed from. I think it was one of the two. Asked him in person what's his thoughts for next year, and he said, of course, I don't know how I'm going to kind of organize them all, or when we're going to drop them, because we've got a lot that's ready to rock and roll. So I think again they're not in a massive rush, and if Perfect Dark, as we know, has had some issues, give them that time. That, like, we've still got 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially 8 titles that could drop next year. That's a lot of third-party AAA games next year for Microsoft. So and that's not even a third of what they've got cooking.
It's crazy if you think about it. Let me briefly shout out Dave Ramos, who sends in a $5 super chat, man. Thank you so much. He says, is Crystal Dynamics saying things are going extremely well also indicate the mission of the initiative is working? Could you arrive at that understanding?
Yeah, I think so. I think the initial teething problems, and I think initially when you're setting up a studio from scratch, as they did, it's not like they're creating an indie studio. They've tried to create a AAA studio from the get-go. That's never going to be simple, and there's always going to be teething issues. The main teething issue they had was so many different people, so many different ideas, and they didn't really fixate on. They didn't know what direction was. They didn't really have an emphasis. But I think they've got over that now. I think they're starting to get into the role of things, and I think going forward it's going to be a lot more streamlined for the studio. But there's going to be teething issues with these things, and of course, personally, never really worried with it. To be honest, you're always, especially when you've got that many big minds. What they tried to do with the initiative at the start was get the best of the best from the industry in one studio and hope it works. Unfortunately, a few of those people just went, listen.
You can't have too many. It's like you can't have a team full of LeBrons, right? For an example, or a team full of Michael Jordans. It's just
too many alpha dogs.
Exactly. So I think it's going to end up all right. Again, I do think it's going to be a prime example of Xbox is going to show that they do care about their in-house studios and their in-house IPs, right? So.
And to Dave Ramos' point. From the super chat, I think if this game ends up being good, it definitely sets a precedent for these possibilities to collaborate with AAA studios, because we have seen it a lot with smaller studios becoming like support studios of bigger studios, and this was like a small studio compared to Crystal Dynamics. Yeah, the initiative is small compared to Crystal Dynamics, partnering with them, making a game with a AAA partner. So we shall see how good the game will end up being. But I think I have a good feeling about this game. I truly do. And maybe it's just wishful thinking, because I absolutely loved the N64 one. But yeah, we shall see, guys. Maybe we see it at the Game Awards in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Maybe not.
Nah,
what we will see at the Game Awards.
That's wishful thinking.
Well, they have announced that game at the Game Awards 2 years ago. They shown that CGI trailer.
Maybe they do what Hellblade did last year and show just a snippet of little gameplay.
My thoughts exactly. Why not? 2 years after they revealed Hellblade 2 with a CGI trailer, they've shown gameplay, and why not do that same thing with Perfect Dark?
Here's a question for you then. If you had to choose between seeing Fable for the first time or seeing
it's not a question. Fable. Absolutely.
They could cancel Perfect Dark, and they could put the initiative and Crystal Dynamics on Fable.
Absolutely, Ben. I want to see Fable. I want to see what Playground can do with that engine in an open world.
Their concept art, and I know concept art is like, it's just concept art, but we've kind of gotten to a point in 2022, 2023 where concept art can reflect what the game could look like, or what they could be going for.
Exactly, and it is still that's the intention of the entire work that goes into concept art, is to give you an idea about the setting, like kind of like the art style, what's the world gonna be like, and we get a pretty good idea, and it screams at you like Lord of the Rings. So
Game of Thrones, just Lord of the Rings,
something like fantasy. That. It's a lot darker than the original trilogy. So super hyped, and I wanna see what they can do with that engine on the current gen hardware, fully optimized for the current gen hardware, and it's gonna be insane. It's gonna be insane, absolutely. But I wanted to talk about the nominees. They have released the nominees this week. We're not gonna go through every category. I want to make this about let's talk about the game of the year. Okay. Just for everyone, maybe someone in chat missed it, or if the listeners missed it. A Plague Tale Requiem is nominated. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So, well, we have these weird discussions about the Game Awards each and every year. Like every year we talk about, this game gets snubbed, and this one doesn't get the recognition it deserves. And I get that taste is different. Right. Yeah, so like still your list would look different than mine, and Dutch's list is also different. We all agree there. Taste is different, and at the end it comes down to that. But on the other hand, this is like the Game Awards.
Right.
There is no other award in the gaming industry that matters on the same scale or level. So it's the most important award by far in the gaming industry. And when you always have these controversies around, why are certain publishers getting ignored? Why do we have such an intransparent process in not just choosing the nominees, but also, of course, the winners? Yeah. Why do we have these weird deadlines that apply to some games, but not all, depending on who publishes it? And then you have that figurehead presenting the Game Awards that is just controversial because he's shown so much bias in so many interviews. Like he leaked the price of the One X, if you guys remember. Yeah, He called the Xbox ecosystem basic cable like a year ago or so. That guy is running the show. It becomes questionable. I mean, we all can get behind like games like Elden Ring and God of War being in there, no questions asked. We all agree. A Plague Tale Requiem, maybe someone wouldn't put it in there, but it deserves to be in there. A Xenoblade, well, I haven't played it. The people I know that have played it, they loved it. So, okay, let's put it in there. No, wouldn't be in my list, obviously, but hey. But then you talk about games like Stray being in there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, a game like Halo gets snubbed because Halo Infinite would be eligible to go in this year's Game of the Year awards because of its release date last year in December.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't eligible for the Game Awards last year, but it is eligible for this year, according to Jeff Keighley's logic. But now you put in a game like Stray above a game like Halo, and you put also the controversially discussed Horizon Forbidden West in there. The questions come up again. Is the system the right thing to do? Is it okay to be as intransparent in choosing the awards like the Game Awards do it? Is it okay to not wait the entire year before you talk about Game of the Year? You miss like the last 1.5 months. Callisto Protocol is also going to be a game that just gets totally ignored because let's be real, no one will talk about Callisto Protocol when we talk December 23 about the Game Awards. So, gentlemen, I want to pose it to you. And of course, I want to ask also the chat here about their opinions. Is the system broken? Is it what's going on with the Game Awards here?
To me personally, the more and more that the Game Awards present themselves every year, the more and more it comes across to me like I don't know who's behind the scenes making decisions. So, and that's one of the biggest points that you bring up, Buck, where it's just like, where is Jeff Keighley getting these people from? Right. And one of the biggest arguments that I bring up for it, though, is like, okay, well, if we don't like Jeff Keighley doing it, who is doing it? Do we have to wait for a BAFTA? Do we have to wait for who else? Because obviously he's the main one that's getting the attention and is getting an audience to look at his stuff. Now, again, people like us, we mainly look at the Game Awards for trailers and game announcements and things of that nature. That's the entire point, right? But business goes as business does, and you got to make that money somehow, right? So I never mind the advertisements and everything else, but there is something to say about structures. Have you not seen other award shows before? You never seen the Grammys, you never seen the MTV Awards, never seen BET Awards. Like, have you not seen awards and how these things work? You brought up a wonderful point.
Like, look at the Oscars. Look at the Oscars. When the Oscars nominate someone, you can find like a list of reasons why this game got nominated. Pardon me, this movie got nominated. But please, continue.
No, and you brought up an awesome point. I forgot what it was, but I feel like it was sometime this week on somebody's show, and I can't remember where. But if you're going to be an award show, give the people who make the games more attention. Like, it's a focus. Absolutely. Like, there's a reason for them to be there, because right now it comes across like it's just a side thing. Again, you rush through it. There is no effort that's really put into it. You make it come across. My biggest thing with gaming currently is, why does everything that pertains to gaming have to be corny somehow? Like, there's no cool factor. Like, you have to bring out a Keanu Reeves for people to feel some type of way. You don't bring that essence normally, which is, I think, is the biggest thing that Jeff Keighley has working against himself. And this is just a personal opinion, but I don't think he's the coolest guy. I don't choose him to represent what gaming is supposed to be, but he is the only one garnering the attention that it has. Right. And is doing it the way that is being presented right now, right? We wouldn't have got that Elden Ring trailer if it wasn't for Jeff Keighley, for an example. And then you see Elden Ring turns around. Elden Ring, at the end of the day, is the game of the year, because what Game of the Year should be about the impact, what it did critically. Did it move a needle? Elden Ring did. And God of War is a beautiful game, but if we're going to have an honest conversation about like Game of the Year and everything, and I'm not going to just keep it at those two, but it literally should be about what critically was impactful this year. Stray is not it. Pokemon Legends Arceus would have been a better choice. Sifu would have been a better choice. There are other games that would have been a better choice, and it comes across blind when you put a game like Stray in there, because it's like, what are you doing? Are you catering to an audience? Because if you are, you definitely didn't do it right, because that's not the indie game people would choose. I don't know. It just seems so lost in translation to me personally.
It does.
Which is why I think it reflects kind of negatively on Jeff Keighley at the end of the day, unfortunately.
I agree. Dutch, I'll get to you in a second. I want to shout out Dave Ramos again, who sends in another super chat of $5. Thank you, man, for the support. He says, why does Jeff ask who's snubbed after the nominees are announced? Shouldn't that feedback be taken before? Seems backwards and intransparent. #intransparent. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Yeah. I've seen his tweet right after they announced the awards. Who got snubbed? Who asks that? Who asks it? Either you stand behind your list. These are the 5 best games, the nominees, or 6 best games. The nominees. You stand behind that list, or just stop it. If you really ask for the community's feedback, you need to take that up front. And that's my problem, Dutch. And I know I mentioned that yesterday on your show as well. It was 2 or 3 years ago when a journalist came out who has been on the board that decides like the Game of the Years for the Game Awards. Mm-hmm. And he gave an interview and he talked about, these are some of the journalists from the bigger outlets and some of the media representatives and so on that are on there, but that he confirmed that he had talked to, and at the time, half of the board members that voted for Game of the Year, and they haven't even played the games.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense whatsoever, but it just shows how, intransparent and weird this entire thing is. So, what do you think about this? Let's bring it around.
Oh yeah. So first of all, of course, as we've mentioned countless times, you can't have a Game of the Year award and then miss out a month and a half of the year. Again, say, but it's eligible for next year. It's not.
Never.
It really isn't, because no one remembers what came out the tail end of November last year, at the tail end of November. Who remembers that?
Yeah.
Like, so many games have released in that time period that it would have already, no matter how good that game is, it would have been forgotten about by the time you come to the tail end of the year. So, of course, and that's not even including the indies, who will then just get completely overlooked, because if you think there's a lot of AAA games coming out on a yearly basis, the indie market is just insane. Like, there's 30, 40, 50, 60 games just coming on console every month for indie, if not more, let alone PC or mobile and across the board. There's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of indie games coming out at all times. There's so much choice. So if you're an indie, like we've had Pentiment, that's getting snubbed this year, because it fell literally just as the nominations.
Through the window, yeah.
In the window. Technically, the window is still open until tomorrow, even though the nominations are out already.
Exactly. What's going on with that? How can you already announce the nominees if the window is over tomorrow?
I don't understand it. I think he needs to stop that. I think the problem I think Jeff has is he's so overly hyper excited about his own show that he can't wait to not talk about it. So when it comes to having the nominations, he's just like, I just want to tell everybody. So then he's like an excitable puppy. Like, he just wants to talk about it. I understand he wants to talk about his project and this hard work he's been putting in for his show, but you have to do this legitimately. Like a lot of these developers are really looking forward to seeing whether or not their hard work has been appreciated on a grander scale, and have those nominated. Because let's face it, the general public aren't bothered about the nominations. We're there for the trailers and the game reveals and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The developers are there not only for the game reveals, but to appreciate everybody else's work. And for, like I say, for the nominations to be announced 3 days before the nominations close, like
that doesn't make any sense.
That needs to stop. He needs to wait until the nomination period is finished and closed, and then 2 days later say, these are the nominations. Like, the cutoff period is done and dusted.
Yeah.
There is no more games to go into it, because then you won't get Pentiment, for instance, who is in with a shout of indie game of the year because of its critical acclaim now. They've missed out entirely. Like this nice little niche game could have been in that particular category, and it's been missed out of because literally the nominations have been announced several days before the nominations close. Like, what is that about? Alternatively,
doesn't make any sense.
It's just the structure of it, like putting games in categories that they don't belong in this year made no sense. Like Sifu going into a fighting category. If there's no fighting games released that year, don't have a fighting category, or change it and just say best ongoing fighter, and then just kind of talk about the ones that are already out, either the esports scene or whatever it is. But if there isn't a game that has released in that category, you can't have an award for that category and then just shove random games in that happen to have fighting. Like, I know, like, you may as well put Midnight Fight Express in there because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things need refined, but I think Jeff he's hyper proud of what he's creating for himself, but he's like an excitable puppy. He just wants everything shown off immediately. He wants to talk about it. But ultimately, with an event like this, he needs to remember it's an award ceremony to celebrate the creators. And when you're intentionally ignoring a month and a half of those games that are coming out every year, when he could literally have pushed these game awards back to first week of January or second week of January.
Exactly.
Let the game literally just, I think someone mentioned the other day, finish the year on Christmas Day. That makes sense because no one else is going to, by that point, everybody's going to have played it. There's nothing comes out between Christmas Day and the 31st.
Yeah.
So finish the nominations on Christmas Day. Okay, nominations are in. We'll announce the nominations on New Year's Eve. Have a big kind of nomination thing on New Year's Eve. Talk about them then. And then have your Game Awards show the second week of January. Boom. That'll great start of the year. It's logical. We've all said it continuous times. It's things that I think Jeff, and we say this numerous occasions, but it's things that we repeat to him as a community all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it gets taken seriously. Like, as we want to celebrate the creators, but I feel personally, as someone who plays a lot of these games, that a lot of them have been snubbed just because of their release date.
Yeah, indeed. And we have that discussion each and every year.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it really doesn't change in a significant way. So that's why I always say the real discussion about Game of the Year is done by the community itself. We don't need an award actually for that. We have the community, all those beautiful gamers that are in chat here, those who listen after the fact, that are on Twitter or other social media channels that come on your shows, guys. Those are the real gamers that have the actual conversation about Game of the Year, and those are the ones that actually can choose Game of the Year, and not some weird committee that apparently didn't even play the games that you're supposed to vote on. So, and that's why we will do another, like every year, another Game of the Year show, highlight show on this channel. we do that. It became kind of a tradition. Even before we had the World of Gaming as a regular podcast, we did these once a year in December, these end of the year shows where we'd have some of the biggest names in the content creator scene on, and then just review the year and talk about the games with you guys. And we do that this year again. You will learn a lot more about this really soon, but you can already save the date. We have to do it, unfortunately, because of availability reasons, a little early this year. We do it on December 3rd. But this is going to be an awesome show. We will find out. We have a couple of special things for that to announce. So that's going to be Saturday, December 3rd. A fantastic show. I cannot wait. All right, guys. But with that, we are already well above 2 hours in the show, and we have a couple of community questions. But yeah, that's just what happens if you have great conversations, right, guys? Time flies. But I definitely want to read a couple of community questions because we have a few special, especially for Steel here.
Hey.
So yeah, let's talk about the community questions. All right, guys, you know the drill. The community questions are the part of the show where you can write in questions up front. So usually on Wednesday, you can post on Twitter, YouTube, Xbox, wherever, your community questions. And this way, you can be a part of the show even when you don't make it live. Just as Herta Quinn, but he's actually live here in chat. He wrote in a question for Steel. Will we ever see a good Transformer game again?
Will we? I think we should, honestly. I mean, Transformers Fall of Cybertron was an amazing and a beautiful game. And Transformers also, I personally think, hit the nail on the head as far as I really enjoyed the multiplayer for Transformers that they had. I believe that was on 360. It was so seamless going from in and out from whether it was the vehicle or just a regular robot shooting around, mess with the enemies, and it was really advanced for the time, man. They need to either remake that or just have somebody that's really going to take Transformers seriously, because I think that's the biggest thing, finding somebody passionate enough about it. So,
what do you think, Dutch?
If you're going to do a Transformers game, you need to reboot that idea entirely. Like Transformers, there's so many cool things that could be done with that. They could do a great Transformers story with awesome kind of should we say action sequences. You can be the Transformers, or are you kind of a lead character and your partner's the Transformer, and you kind of, when you get into those fighting sequences, you kind of, instead of playing as the main character, you are the Transformer and you do the fighting sequences, etc. It could be this huge AAA blockbuster Transformers game that's done properly, but are we likely to see that? As much as we would love to see kind of something kind of come to that fruition, I think we're unlikely to see something to that scale. We've kind of been hampered by, should we say, AA or B Transformers games over the years. It's unfortunate that it has been that way. There's been some terrible ones as well, but I'd love to see one again, but I don't think we will get one.
I feel like the Transformer IP is really underutilized because
it is.
Like the entire setting is like match made in heaven for a video game, isn't it?
It needs an MMO. Like I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, something like that. There's so much you could do with it. So yeah, let's hope that someone in the future picks it up, gives it a proper treatment, like the AAA budget, and then whether it be an MMO, which would be perfect for that entire setting, of course, but you could also do a couple of other things with it. So yeah, let's hope. Red Ward Fight writes in. He asks this: will there be a new edition, a special series for X for this holiday? Like we had last year, the 20-year anniversary edition. Is there something? Do you think we will see something this holiday?
I don't think so. I don't. There's nothing necessarily like lined up for them to really tie in some marketing with it, unless they're going to do a special Pentiment Xbox. But I don't see them doing that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing big enough that at least, I mean, unless they want to do a reiteration on like a Halo Xbox, but I can't think of anything at least up front that would garner them making a specific console for design wise.
Dutch, what do you think?
I agree. There's nothing for them to push it. The Series. What I would love for them to do is show the Series S the same love as they do the Series X.
Yeah, more custom Series S's would be dope.
Yeah, release a custom Series S because that thing flies off shelves anyway. So, and especially at that price point over Christmas, you put in a fancy. Even if you just release a Halo version Series S for Christmas, or anything really. Call of Duty one. I mean, no, that would fly. But no, seriously, yeah, give Series S some love. I'd love to see it. Would it happen? I don't know. Yeah. Grounded's a good shout. Jason Max is Grounded.
Grounded
could do that.
Yeah. We saw the Minecraft 1S, and that was a beautiful little system. You could do a Grounded Series S. Absolutely, I think that would sell. And you've got to think of the people that are buying it as well. There's a lot of youngsters getting the Series S this Christmas. It's not only the best way into this generation, but it's also a beast of a little console.
Right.
And the age range that's going to be playing it, of course, not just over in Asian territories where it's taken off quite well, but for those who are lower on cash and they still want to weigh in, and the youngsters are playing it for Christmas, a Grounded one would be terrific.
It would be.
I don't know whether or not they'd be able to get that knocked up in time, but it'd be awesome if they did.
You know what I would have loved to pitch to someone at Xbox, and I don't know whether someone actually listens here from Microsoft, but why not make a design lab for the consoles?
Absolutely.
You know, with the housings, exactly. With the housings of Series X and S being like this in these standard geometries, like super easy to manufacture.
Yeah.
Why not give us some options there? That would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, for the S and for the S, it's literally two plastic sections. So you've got the top and the bottom, and then you've got the grill. I suppose you could change the color of the grill. You could change the
another plastic piece, but. Yeah.
And add your etching on it, add your gamer tag on the front of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go. Boom.
That would be so dope. So dope. But yeah, in terms of special editions, I bet they had a Starfield one planned, but with Starfield not making it this year.
I agree.
Yeah. I think we will see it next year when the game comes out. So
would any of you get this Starfield X?
Starfield
X.
X.
You've already got an X. Will it be in special edition?
Not sure.
You've seen what happened to the Halo one. As much as Halo Infinite, of course, has had its issues.
Yeah,
that is no longer. It is literally just as soon as it's sold out, it's sold out. Like there is no more.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure. You're asking good questions here.
Yeah. You can get the watch. They're gonna sell you a watch in the collector's edition.
Yeah, true. I'm not sure if I would buy it. The last collector's edition that really caught my attention was, or it's not really the last one, but I always love these collector's editions or special consoles that do more than just like the housing. Like remember the 360 Gears of War thing where you had the Lancer sound when you eject the disc and stuff like that. I want that from a custom.
Gears of War one was something special.
With
the scratch marks down it, like engraved into it, and
exactly. So not just a paint job on the actual console, but do something special with it. So depending on that, I might get weak because I'm super excited for Starfield. I don't know. We shall see. Really depends on when it comes out. Because then we are already in that window where I expect also the announcement of a enhanced Xbox Series console.
Hmm.
So we shall see. We shall see. All right. Another question from Sith Lord. Yeah, that goes especially to Steel because Dutch, we talked about this last week already. What is your personal game of the year?
My personal game of the year is definitely going to be Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
And that's going to be, I'm going to say that as somebody who is a Souls fan. I'm going to say that as somebody who just enjoys good combat in a game that wants you just to figure it out, right? I'm sure you could wait later on, but there's nothing like that initial experience when there's no information out there. It's just you, the game, and you going to these individual sections of these different spaces and finding out these secrets, or just having the ability, the main thing, the biggest crutch for a lot of people, to be able to go one way towards a fight, say, look, maybe this fight isn't for me, go a completely different direction and get for hours be in that opposite direction, and then come back later and smack whatever you had a problem with. I feel like games sometimes forget to be games. In Elden Ring, FromSoft, this is definitely the culmination of everything they've been working towards up to this point, and they hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout. I said this last week. I really enjoyed Elden Ring. I also thought it had its issues.
Yeah, I did.
But I loved the 85 hours I put into it, and I do understand the impact it had on the gaming community as a whole. Like, everyone was playing it, and it made a genre that is really niche, attractive to the masses. And for that alone, it deserves recognition. So yeah, good shout. Good shout. Dutch, where do we stand a week later?
Yeah. So it's a tough one because I agree with Steel for the ultimate game of the year should be Elden Ring.
That's
for what it did, again, as its impact to not only the genre, but I think the gaming space in general. And we've spoke about this last week as well, Boxy. Like, it was the impact that had on regular people was just insane. Like, going to work and people that never talk about gaming at all start asking you about Elden Ring. You're like, this is just so strange. Like, this, a game's doing big when normal people that aren't really into gaming are talking about a game. So for what it did, and for the sheer amount of new people that have got into the genre because of Elden Ring, I think it fully deserves its roses. But for me at the moment, it's starting to be more like God of War, just again because of what I've played of it and the story it's telling. Again, it's about the impact of the story for me, not just the gameplay. And unfortunately for Elden Ring, the story is more built into lore that you have to seek out and read if you so choose to do so. And that's one of the things that I think the only thing really that primarily detracted from it for me was just the fact that the lore is there and the story is there if you go searching.
It's very gameplay first focus, and if that doesn't draw you in, then you're not going to search for the extra narrative pieces or try to piece things together to have a good time.
Exactly, yeah. And like I mentioned before, like, the one thing coming into God of War Ragnarok that I wanted, I expected the game to perform well. I expected the game to look great. All I wanted was the story to be better, and in every way so far the story is better than 2018. So far it is claiming that prize. Hopefully by the end of it I'll still be saying the same thing, but as it stands, God of War will be taking that mantle for this year with me for the AAA game of the year.
Nice. Yeah, I see. I'm like 10 hours, 11, 12 hours, something like that in. And I see that this is definitely a candidate that will also be very, very high on my list. So, yeah, Good talk, guys. But with that, I want to wrap the show up. I want to say again, still a big thank you to you for joining us here for 2.5 hours, which is absolutely awesome. And we had a blast chatting with you. So yeah, let people know where they can find you and what you're working on, what you've coming up.
Well, I try to make it as easy as possible. Well, I don't try. I have made it as easy as possible. It's literally Steel Rain the T is a 7 everywhere. If it's Google, if it's YouTube, Twitter, no matter what it is, you want to make it easy, type it into Google. I've had anybody in my family try it out just to make sure it's working, and it's guaranteed to work. Other than that,
and you can find, pardon me for interrupting. The links are all in the description as well. So just click there and you find everything.
That's excellent. I greatly appreciate that. But yeah, mainly you can find me on the streets of the Xbox or mainly PC, honestly. But again, I play a little bit of everywhere, but hit me up in the messages, DMs, whatever the case, want to play. I'm always down. And if not, I'm not one of those people that like to hide from people. I'll tell you what's going on, man. I mean, I feel like that should be part of what we do as a community, right? Be honest with each other. But other than that, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, every Saturday morning, I am one of the hosts of a non-console centric platform that covers everything going on within the gaming industry with a lot of personal flair to it. That is represented by the Midweek Mix-Up Collective. So shout out to Wandering Dutch and the team over there for just continuing to let us do what we do. But yeah, we provide over, goodness gracious, for better or for worse, depending on your perspective, 3 hours of content. And it's that live, raw, uncut RTS, for those who don't know, real-time strategy perspective, pulling yourself out of the world, looking at the darker crevices of the map, pulling those resources together to not only build up your own base foundation, but also potentially reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer's trying to reach, man, because got to expand the ecosystem if we want to grow, right? But other than that, thank you, Box. Thank you, Dutch, for having me on today. It's been nothing but a great time. These are the moments that I live for. This is why I joined the community, to have these conversations. Man, I'm warmed up. I'm heated up, and I greatly appreciate it.
No, again, thank you, man, for taking the time to come on. It's been a blast, and hopefully it won't be the last time we have you on. So you're always welcome to come back here because it was definitely a fun episode, man. Dutch, what have you coming up? What can people expect from your channel and what you're working on?
Yeah, certainly. So, of course, back again on some more God of War tomorrow. Looking forward to getting back into it. It's one of them things again, unfortunately, because I'm streaming it. I can't just jump in as much as I'd love to, but I know, like previous streams, I don't just jump in for 1 or 2 hours. Like, it goes on and on because I just want to do that one more bit, just that one more bit. It's good. So I'm really looking forward to jumping back on that tomorrow. So obviously back to streaming that. Sunday we'll be back with a weekend edition, which is now fortnightly, and of course Save Tuesdays again next Tuesday. And the podcast, as ever, the Midweek Makes Up every Wednesday as well. But a blast having Steel here this week. Obviously, make sure you go and give them a sub. Obviously, they're super close or closing in on that elusive 1,000 subscribers. So let's try and get them to it as soon as we can. That would be awesome. Great content. 2 awesome guys diving into every orifice of gaming you can possibly imagine. So go and share that love. But awesome having them here. And for everybody else, thanks for joining us, and see you all again next week.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. We need to thank the community because they literally drive this show. They make it to what it is. So big shout out to everyone who joined us here live today. Big shout out to, of course, to everyone who listens after the fact. And of course, again, a very special thank you to everyone who supports the show with the super chats or the channel memberships. You guys are just simply amazing. But even if you're just here listening, it's really lending us your time to listen to our opinions, to our thoughts, and participating in the conversation is more than enough that we can ask for, and it's it's amazing to see how many people just want to listen to what we have to say about gaming, and this is what drives us to do this each and every week. So thanks, guys. Thanks again for joining. Thanks again to Steel. Thanks again to Dutch for hosting with me. Next week, we will have maybe a very special guest again. Yet to be confirmed, but it's going to be awesome. And we will very soon actually have another community special on December 1st. We will share all the details about that also next week. And I mentioned already the highlight show of 2022 in December, which is going to be awesome. Can't wait to share more about that. So there's a lot of good stuff coming. And besides that, stay tuned for an interesting review of a game I'm playing right now. This is definitely something you might want to keep an eye out. So there's a lot of stuff coming, guys. But for now, thanks again for watching. I see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.